Chapter 43. What a load of nonsense. Jean Tian was only a first-grade martial general. How could he have the ability to kill you? Moreover, even Dongfang Tu, the strongest of the five, admitted that he was no match for you. How could Jean Tian dare to attack you? If that's the case, why did you say that he wanted to kill you? Beitang Hong rebuked. Elder Hong is right. Wang Kai killed Beitang Jean Tian, the fifth-generation descendant of the Beitang family. He deserves to be executed. We are here to find out the truth. Now that we have found out, Wang Kai must be captured and punished in the Elders' Hall. The other elders nodded in agreement. As an elder of the Elders' Hall, they argued with a junior like Wang Kai many times. They just want to give Elder Ling Shu an explanation. Unless it was absolutely necessary, no one wanted to go against Elder Ling Shu. After all, the difference in their martial realms was too great. Perhaps only the palace master could suppress him. Elder Ling Shu, now that we have found out the truth, Wang Kai's martial realm is higher than Jean Tian's. It would be fine if he taught him a lesson. However, he chose to kill Beidang Jean Tian. As the leader of the Elders' Hall, I believe Elder Ling Shu should know better than us how to deal with such a crime. Beitang Hong said coldly. After he finished speaking, the courtyard of Ling Shu became so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Lung Feng and Can Rin stood quietly by the side and looked at Elder Ling Shu, who had an indifferent expression on his face. They wanted to know how he would deal with this. The reason why he didn't kill Beidang Tianlei and only chopped off one of his arms was because he was afraid of the Beitang family's pressure. It was a fair duel in the martial competition ceremony. As long as he didn't take the lives of the direct descendants of the five families, the loss of his arm could only be attributed to the fact that he wasn't as strong as his opponent. The five families wouldn't lower themselves to come and question him. Now that Beitang Jean Tian was dead, a disciple with a different surname had killed a direct descendant of the Beitang family, who dominated the Shunwu Academy. The severity of the situation was obvious. Since Beitang Jean Tian's martial realm is lower than Wang Kai's, he still dared to join forces with the direct descendants of the five families. Unfortunately, he died in the spiritual pivot courtyard. This only proves that he was inferior. He thought that no one would dare to kill him because of his status as a direct descendant. Such a stupid direct descendant, it was better not to have him. You can go back now, Elder Ling Shu said lightly. Whoosh. Hearing this, Elder Beitang's face turned pale. He had never thought that Elder Ling Shu would refuse to capture Wang Kai, even though they had joined forces with 32 other elders. If they were to let this go, where would the Beitang family's reputation go? How dare you? Ling Shu, you are not the head of the Hall of Elders, nor are you an elder of the Hall of Elders. What right do you have to protect a criminal? Could it be that he wanted to use his martial arts realm to suppress others? Do you think that no one in the Shunwu Academy can suppress you? Beitang Hong rebuked. Elder Ling Shu glanced at him and said with a smile, Haha, so what if I suppress you with my martial arts realm? Today, you've come at the right time. I'll make it clear here. No matter if you're a direct descendant of the Beitang family or the other four big families, no one is allowed to interfere when you fight with my disciples, regardless of life or death. If the experts of the older generation dare to fight without permission, I won't sit by and do nothing. Hearing this, everyone fell silent. Since Elder Ling Shu had said so, if they wanted to punish Wang Kai, they would have to resort to violence. However, even if they joined forces with 32 other elders, they would still be no match for Elder Ling Shu. Haha, since Elder Ling Shu has said so, how about Su fight with Wang Kai? Suddenly, a chuckle sounded, causing all the elders to frown and turn around. When they saw a young man standing at the gate of the courtyard, their eyes lit up with joy. Su, Beitang Hong cried out in surprise. Elder Ling Shu frowned, and her face turned pale. She looked at Wang Kai worriedly. She had already said that if the two sides fought fairly, she would not intervene in the outcome of the duel. Beidang Su. Canrin's eyes hardened and the veins on his forehead bulged. He took out his black dagger and wiped his bald head. He licked his lips and was about to step forward. Pa! Lung Feng looked cold and reached out to grab Cameron's shoulder. He said coldly, You can't beat him. Don't rush. He's Beitang Su, the culprit who suppressed Lung Feng and Canron for 3 years. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and looked curiously at the newcomer. He was quite handsome and was about 25 or 26 years old. He was dressed in white and had a golden belt around his waist. Even the scabbard of his sword was golden. Seeing this, Wang Kai's expression became strange. He frowned and said speechlessly, "The Beitang family finally has someone who doesn't boast about his name. However, his attire is pretentious." Beitang Su was the strongest disciple of the 4th generation of the Beitang family. He was a 9th grade martial general and was about to become a martial ancestor. "Wang Kai, do you dare to fight with me?" Beitang Su stood in an indifferent manner as he casually glanced at Lung Feng and Can Run. Disdain flashed across his eyes as he stared at Wang Kai with interest. They were both in the martial general realm, but there was a difference of 5 grades. The difference of 1 grade was like heaven and earth. Even Wang Kai did not have absolute confidence in defeating him. In fact, he did not even have the strength to fight. Beitang Su is a 9th grade martial general. Kai, whether you fight or not is up to you. Elderling Shu said lightly. Elderling Shu, isn't this unfair? Although Su is a 4th generation descendant, he is still part of the younger generation. He is not an elder of the Elder Hall, nor is he a master of the older generation. How can he be afraid? Beitang Hong sneered. Wang Kai looked disdainful. He could not deal with a martial ancestor realm master, but he could deal with a martial general. He immediately put his hands behind his back and sneered. "Let's fight, but it has to be in 3 days. Kaya." Elder Ling Shu frowned. She knew Wang Kai's character and knew that he would not back down. Instead, he would confront his opponent head-on. She had wanted to remind him to refuse the battle, but now it seemed that it was useless. "Haha, in that case, 3 days later, you and I will fight in the battle arena. The loser will have to hand over his cultivation method and martial skill, and the Netherworld sword will be returned to its owner. What do you think?" Beitang Su narrowed his eyes and smiled. He was surprised that Wang Kai dared to accept his challenge. However, after thinking about it, he thought that Wang Kai was overestimating himself. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. He did not expect that Beitang Su's goal was his martial skill and cultivation method. No wonder he did not go into seclusion to break through to the martial ancestor realm. Although the winner of the duel had the right to take away the loser's belongings, if the loser did not have his cultivation method and martial skill with him, he could not take them away. Was that why Beitang Su proposed such a condition? "Can you not act tough in front of us? Are your cultivation method and martial skill on the same level as mine? What's more, what kind of weapon do you have that can be compared with a Netherworld sword? If you don't have it, Bin Xiao will not accept this request." Wang Kai shrugged and smiled contemptuously. Since he wanted to gamble, he had to pay a price. Otherwise, wouldn't he be at a disadvantage? Chapter 44. The Beitang family's martial technique is called the 7-star spell. It is as famous as the general's residence's martial technique, the 100-battle star. The martial technique is the Dark North Seal. The loser will have to hand over the martial technique and martial technique. What do you think? Beitang Su squinted his eyes and smiled. No, the 7-star spell is the foundation of the Beitang family's martial arts. The Dark North Seal is one of the 5 martial techniques of the Shenwu dynasty. How can it be used as a wager? That's right. This kid's martial arts realm is only a 4th grade martial general. The martial technique he cultivates is definitely not of the Dark North Seal. No matter how exquisite it is, it cannot be compared to the Dark North Seal. The faces of all the elders changed when they heard this, especially the elders of the Beitang family. They did not hesitate to speak up to stop him. If the Beitang family were to hand over their foundational techniques, how could they become the master of the Shenwu Academy in the future? Why are you all so worried? Since Nephew Su dares to take out such a wager, it means that he is confident in winning. We should just wait and see. That's right. Nephew Su is already a 9th grade martial general at such a young age. He will enter the ranks of the martial arts grandmasters soon. It is only a matter of time before he enters the Elder Hall. Since that is the case, doesn't he have the right to act on his own? After the elders of the other four families recovered from their shock, they spoke out in agreement. Just as the elders of the Beitang family were worried, if Beitang Su really lost to Wang Kai, the seven-star spell and the Dark North Seal would be handed over to the general's residence. Then the Beitang family's position as the master of the Shenwu Academy would be shaken. Even if Wang Kai lost, the Shenwu Academy would still obtain the Dark North Seal from the general's residence. They would also obtain an exquisite martial technique that would allow one to step into the air before reaching the martial arts grandmaster realm. The other five families of the Shenwu Academy would naturally get a share of the profits. No matter what, whoever won or lost in this bet was a good thing for the other four great clans. Wang Kai's expression was extremely playful. He rubbed his chin and looked at them with disdain. The 32 elders had arrived in such a menacing manner. How long had it been? They had already begun to secretly fight amongst themselves. It could be seen that the five families of the Shenwu Academy were not united. Stop arguing. Let Su decide on his own. Beitang Hong frowned and shouted. How could he not know the thoughts of the elders of the four great clans? However, he didn't care too much about it in his heart. With Beitang Su's martial realm, wanting to crush Wang Kai was as easy as flipping his hand. Elder Hong. This is taboo for the Beitang family. Although Beitang Su's martial arts realm was higher than Wang Kai's, but they didn't want to gamble with the foundation of Beitang family. The world was constantly changing. If something went wrong, wouldn't Beitang family fall into the abyss? Had he thought it through? If you don't dare, then we can have a duel without any stakes. Beitang Su asked with disdain. He ignored the argument of the elders, and his eyes were fixed on Wang Kai. Just as Beitang Hong thought, he didn't think there was anything wrong with it. He was only afraid that Wang Kai wouldn't dare to take the bet. Wang Kai shrugged and raised a finger. He smiled indifferently and said, Beitang Su, you don't need to provoke me. Think about how Bin Xiao has been famous in Fan Province for hundreds of years. Whether it is poetry or martial arts, he has never been defeated. As long as you dare to bet, then Bin Xiao will accept. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Famous in Fan Province for hundreds of years. Poetry, martial arts, gambling, never been defeated? Everyone's faces stiffened and the corners of their mouths twitched. No one knew if he had been defeated or not, but to say that he had been famous for hundreds of years was undoubtedly bragging. Even Wang Shang of the Shenwu dynasty only had a lifespan of 200 years. Haha, that's good. 3 days from now, let's fight to the death on the martial arena. Beitang Su smiled and turned to leave the courtyard. Now that he had achieved his goal, he naturally left. Elder Lingshu, I hope you can teach Wang Kai well in these 3 days. It would be best if he could break through 5 grades and reach the peak of Martial General. Ha ha ha. Beitang Hong left with his hands behind his back and laughed. Breaking through 5 grades in 3 days, from a 4th grade Martial General to a 9th grade Martial General? This was absolutely impossible. All the elders had strange expressions on their faces as they left one after another, each with their own thoughts. The menacing martial great master realm had come to an end. Kai-er, are you confident? Elder Lingshu's face was full of worry. She had cultivated for nearly 100 years and had seen at least 800 if not 1,000 genius disciples. Not to mention breaking through 5 grades in 3 days. Even breaking through 2 grades would be difficult. Even if one could break through 1 grade, he would be considered a monster. Kinrin licked his lips and rubbed his bald head. He grinned and said, Eldest senior brother, don't worry. Even if we lose, we brothers will avenge you in the future. That's right, Lung Feng said coldly. The 2 brothers were already irreconcilable with the Beitang family, but they were helpless because they didn't have the ability to contend against the Beitang family for the time being. Seeing that Wang Kai dared to challenge Beitang Su, who was a 9th grade martial general, regardless of the outcome, they felt that he had some guts. Even if this courage was stupid and reckless in their eyes, it was still worthy of respect. Wang Kai's expression was extremely arrogant. He habitually flicked his sleeve and raised his head to clear his throat. He said heroically, "Who is Ben Shao? He is the god of war who has descended to the mortal world. He can make gods and Buddhas bow down to him. Not to mention breaking through 5 grades in 3 days. Even stepping into the martial Great Master realm will be a piece of cake for him. A mere Beitang Su is nothing to worry about. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and reaching the 5th grade martial general realm." Hearing the prompt, Wang Kai's expression became even more arrogant. He thought to himself, "Yes, it's that simple. Other people need to cultivate for a long time to break through, but I only need to brag a few times. Awesome. Young Master Kai is really a role model for my generation. Since young Master Kai is so interested, why don't we first discuss the Black Dragon Blade?" Fatty Lu suddenly laughed and praised. Wang Kai's face suddenly darkened. His forehead was full of black lines as he stared at Fatty Lu. He took out the Black Dragon Blade and shook it in his hand. He curled his lips and snorted, "Damn Fatty, although you are my brother, but as the saying goes, even blood brothers must settle accounts clearly. If you don't give me 10 million silver, then you can forget about getting the Black Dragon Blade for the rest of your life. Unless what? Young Master Kai, as a brother, I will do my best to help you." Fatty Lu immediately became spirited. "Unless you become a monk, not only will I give you the Black Dragon Blade, I will also give you 10,000 silver notes as travel expenses." Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and said with a grin. Fatty Lu's face stiffened when he heard this. He couldn't help but shake his big belly. He turned around and ran away. What Black Dragon Blade? He had already thrown it to the back of his mind. Instead of following the Buddhist precepts and becoming a monk, he might as well find a way to gather the silver notes. Chapter 45. Looks like I have to pass through the Tower of Babel as soon as possible and return to King City. Is Ji Chun still around? Wang Kai thought to himself. As long as Fatso Lu did not want to become a monk, Master Ji Chun would not leave the marshal's mansion. Leaving such an unfathomable monk at home made him feel uneasy. Furthermore, in Wang Kai's opinion, if Fatso Lu really left with Ji Chun, it would not be a bad thing. Thinking of this, Wang Kai immediately bowed and said bluntly, "Master Ling Shu, I want to pass through the 9 levels of the Tower of Babel." The Tower of Babel. You want to use it to break through? Elder Ling Shu frowned. The Shenwu Academy had a weapon called the Tower of Babel. It was a Grandmaster weapon and was the foundation of the academy. To enter the Tower of Babel, one had to be a martial general and below the age of 30. Each level was strange and tricky. It did not only test the martial artist's talent and aptitude. Each level was filled with difficulties, life and death. If one failed to pass the test, it meant death. There were not many martial artists who were able to pass through the 9 levels of the Tower of Babel. Most of them died in the process. Even a 9th grade martial general could be trapped in the Tower of Babel. Wang Kai was only a 4th grade martial general. How could he pass through the Tower of Babel? Elder Lingshu frowned as she pondered. Her eyes were filled with worry. As the leader of the original elders of the Shenwu Academy, she was naturally familiar with the Tower of Babel. She had never intended for Wang Kai to risk his life in the Tower of Babel. However, given his current situation, the Tower of Babel was the only way for him to break through to the next level as soon as possible. If you enter the Tower of Babel without becoming a 9th grade martial general, you will have a slim chance of survival. Although it can allow a martial artist's martial arts foundation to be perfected quickly, you will have to exchange your life for it. Have you thought it through? Elder Ling Shu said lightly. Wang Kai was stunned. He did not expect the Tower of Babel to be so powerful. If he was on a 9th grade martial general, he would have a slim chance of survival. Did it have to be so cruel? Don't worry, Master Ling Shu. I'm very resourceful and have unlimited possibilities in the future. I'm also protected by the gods and Buddhas. Since I still have a life, I'll definitely pass it smoothly. Wang Kai smacked his lips and said. His heart was trembling a little. Even he himself wasn't confident in his bragging. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Protected by the gods and Buddhas? Didn't you just say that you could make all the gods and Buddhas submit to you? Now you want them to protect you? Elder Lingshu's eyelids twitched and her face stiffened. She was furious and scolded. It's okay to brag in the past, but how can you joke about life and death now? Master's teachings are reasonable. However, Master can rest assured that with your disciple's ability, entering a mere 9-story sky-reaching tower will be as easy as taking a stroll in the park. Wang Kai grinned. He thought to himself, if I don't brag, my entire body will feel uncomfortable. If I don't brag, how will I become a 9th-grade martial general? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Elder Lingshu held her breath, and it took her a long time to recover. She looked at Wang Kai helplessly. It seemed that this habit of bragging could not be changed. She shook her head and sighed, forget it. Since you've made up your mind, I'll take you to the 9-story sky-reaching tower. Master, we also want to enter the sky-reaching tower with eldest senior brother. Kanran licked his lips and said respectfully with cupped fists, Master, please allow us to enter. Lung Feng said coldly and bowed. Lung Feng and Kanran had heard about the 9-story sky-reaching tower for many years. However, due to the oppression of Beitang Su and the Beitang family, they had been unable to break through to the martial general realm. Due to the restriction of the realm of the sky-reaching tower, they had not been able to enter. No, you have just broken through to the martial general realm and are merely 1st-grade martial generals. Your realm is too low. If you enter the sky-reaching tower, even the 1st story will take your lives. Elder Lingshu refused. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and put his hands behind his back. He smiled indifferently and said, Master is right. If you want to enter the sky-reaching tower, you have to at least reach the level of your eldest senior brother. There is no doubt that one's aptitude and talent are extraordinary. However, the most important thing is one's character. Sometimes, the sky-reaching tower also depends on one's appearance. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Eldest senior brother, do you mean that our aptitude and talent are not as good as yours? Kanran licked his lips and rubbed his bald head with force. He looked quite unconvinced. Lung Feng glanced at him coldly and said, Eldest senior brother, how arrogant. Since you are willing to call me eldest senior brother, it proves that you still admire me from the bottom of your heart. At least your current realm is not as good as mine. Young people, remember not to be greedy and advance prematurely. You have to progress step by step. Just like me, I have always been humble. Wang Kai smiled shyly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. You call this being humble? Lung Feng and Kanran were extremely disdainful, especially when they saw Wang Kai's shy smile. They despised him even more in their hearts. The position of eldest senior brother will change sooner or later. Lung Feng said coldly. Kanran licked his lips and rubbed his bald head with force. He grinned and said, Big brother is right. 3rd junior brother, can you stop rubbing your head? Can't you see that it's shiny? It's like a mirror. You can even dress up. The corner of Wang Kai's mouth twitched. He did not want to look at Kanran's actions anymore. He was really annoyed. Young Master Kai, you're wrong. Can you see my bald head? 3rd senior brother bald donkey, I have a mirror here. Do you want to borrow it? As Fatty Lou's laughter suddenly rang out, the veins on Kanran's forehead bulged. Damn, Fatty, your skin is getting tight again. Kanran grinned, holding the black broken saber. He moved his feet and rushed to Fatso Lu's room. Elder Lingshu looked at her disciples fooling around and felt a headache coming on. She waved her hand and said, Kai, have you really decided? Once you enter Tong Tian Tower, your life and death will be up to you. You must consider it carefully. Of course. Master, don't worry. In this disciple's dictionary, There is no such thing as danger. Tong Tian Tower only has 9 floors. Even if it has 99 floors, I can easily pass through it. Wang Kai smiled proudly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Bastard Beidang Su, you made me brag about my bragging. When I activate my bloodline power, I will definitely let you experience inhumane torture. Well, in that case, come with me. Elder Ling Shu sighed and grabbed Wang Kai's shoulder. She stepped into the air and disappeared from Ling Shu's courtyard in the blink of an eye. Tong Tian Tower, I am coming. Chapter 46. The Shenwu Mountain was lofty and lofty. Its throat was filled with clouds and mist, and various buildings were faintly discernible. Wang Kai, who was being held by Elder Ling Shu by the shoulder, stepped through the clouds and mist. Only then could he see the true appearance of the peak. In front of the palaces, there were demonic beasts, and around the peak, there were even birds circling. It was like a wonderland of immortals. Such a scene made Wang Kai stunned. Compared with the mountainside, where the courtyard of Ling Shu was located, it was like the difference between the immortal world and the mortal world. They were not on the same level at all. It was as if he had come to a different world. Even though he knew that this mountain was captured by Wang Shang from the North Mountain, now that he saw it with his own eyes, he could not help but be secretly amazed. What kind of martial arts realm was Wang Shang of the Shenwu dynasty in? How could he capture such a majestic mountain and bring it here? Elder Ling Shu held Wang Kai and stood in the air at the same level as the peak. She warned him seriously, the sky-reaching tower is the ancestral weapon of the Shenwu Academy. It is the treasure of the academy. Now it is controlled by the Beitang family. If you want to enter, I am afraid the Beitang family will be more than happy to let you in. But you must remember, do not trust anything or anyone in there. If you are not careful, you will be spied on and even killed. Could the Beitang family be up to something? Wang Kai was stunned. He looked away from the demonic beasts and could not help but smack his lips. He nodded and said with a smile, Master, don't worry. My ability is not something that ordinary people can spy on. Even immortals and deities will have to bow their heads and retreat. As for killing, of course it is impossible. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 1,000 experience points and bragging points by 1 point. After bragging, Wang Kai was full of smiles when he heard the notification. Just as Elder Ling Shu was about to scold him angrily, Wang Kai asked again, Master, after I successfully enter the Tower of Babel, I still need you to protect me outside, in case the old bastards of the Beitang family succeed. Upon hearing this, Elder Ling Shu's face stiffened, and she choked back her words of reprimand. The corners of her mouth twitched, and she sighed, feeling a headache coming on. Then she said lightly, I will guard against any unruly people. However, in the Tower of Babel, I cannot interfere. You have to rely on yourself for everything. You must know that you must always be cautious. Oh, so it's Elder Ling Shu. Are you here to send this boy into the Tower of Babel? Suddenly, a laugh rang out from a palace on the mountain peak, causing the entrenched demonic beasts to prostrate themselves. The flying beasts that were circling around also landed in front of the palace. They were unusually respectful, as if they were worshipping a king. Was a demonic beast that spoke just now? Wang Kai asked in astonishment. Upon hearing this, Elder Ling Shu's mouth twitched, and there seemed to be a smile in her eyes. However, she held back and replied, Junior Brother Ling Dan, I haven't seen you for many years. It seems that you have made a breakthrough in your cultivation. Elder Ling Shu, please don't talk nonsense. Since the day you left the Elder Hall, you and I no longer have the same sect. Come down. Whoosh. Elder Ling Shu's expression did not change. She grabbed Wang Kai and landed in front of the palace. Immediately, the demonic beasts were on guard. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws to provoke them. Upon seeing this, Wang Kai was even more convinced that Ling Dan was a demonic beast. Otherwise, how could these demonic beasts be so subdued? Even though Elder Ling Shu's martial arts realm was unfathomable, they still dared to show a fighting stance. Wolves, tigers, leopards, eagles, bears, eagles, cranes. Is this a zoo? Wang Kai's gaze swept past them one by one, and he couldn't help but smack his lips, feeling a bit speechless, especially when he saw the words Pill Beast written on the plaque above the palace. He was even more certain that this Pill Elder was definitely a demonic beast. Oomph, is this the one who injured you? Ling Shu, you have really taken in a good disciple. He is just as cruel and ruthless as you were in the past. An old man in a gray robe walked out of the palace. He was about 50 or 60 years old, and his face was serious and cold. Beside him, there was a very beautiful little peacock. It was more than a meter tall, and the peacock seemed to be very intelligent. It was blinking its eyes and swaying its little head up and down as it looked at Wang Kai. Its eyes contained a human-like curiosity. Ha, Ling Dan, let's not talk about what happened in the past. If you really want to discuss it with me, I can tell your disciples about it. Elder Ling Shu smiled faintly, and her expression was quite mischievous. Okay. Martial Ant Ling Shu, tell me about it. I really want to know what happened to Master. The little peacock tilted its head and asked crisply. Its voice was pleasing to the ear, and it sounded a little childish. Damn, this female peacock has become a spirit. It can speak human language. Wang Kai's expression changed slightly, and he looked at the little peacock with a very interesting expression. Looking at her colorful feathers, he really wanted to pluck a few of them off. Swoosh! As soon as he said that, Elder Ling Shu and Elder Ling Dan were stunned. The demonic beasts were also stunned on the spot. Bastard, where did this little kid come from? How dare he insult the noble, beautiful, and powerful lady? The little peacock shrieked. Suddenly, she was so angry that she spread her tail. Wisps of fragrance wafted out and instantly filled the entire palace. Plop, plop. All the demonic beasts shook their bodies, and their eyes were half opened. Finally, their heads tilted, and they all fell to the ground and fainted on the spot. Demonic aura. Is this the so-called demonic aura? That's amazing. Little peacock, you're very good. I think very highly of you. Come and be my mount. Follow Ben Shao, and you won't have to worry about food and drink. You can have whatever you want. Wang Kai was even more surprised when he saw this. He immediately clapped his hands and praised, and without saying a word, he went forward to approach her. Slap! Elder Ling Shu quickly stopped Wang Kai. She frowned slightly and looked at Elder Ling Dan coldly. She said indifferently, Ling Dan, I haven't seen you for many years. Not only have you improved in martial arts, but your temper has also become a lot worse. Oomph. Take care of your disciples. If they dare to talk nonsense again, I won't let them off easily. Ling Dan flung his sleeves and snorted coldly with a pale face. Ah, little bastard, you're quite powerful. No wonder you could injure that annoying guy, Wanja. You must have reached the 3rd grade martial general realm, right? Like I said, I'm only a 2nd grade demon general. Only warriors with higher cultivation than me can resist the attack of the demonic aura. Little Peacock kept talking. She tilted her little head and looked at Wang Kai. The curiosity in her eyes grew stronger. 2nd grade demon general? Is it the name of the demonic beast's martial arts realm? Wang Kai was stunned for a moment, and then he understood. He turned a blind eye to Elder Ling Dan's anger. With Master Ling Shu by his side, Elder Ling Dan could not do anything. He looked at her curiously and said, Little Peacock, you must have a wish that you haven't fulfilled, right? Come and be my mount. Ben Shao is omnipotent. As long as you say it, I can help you make it come true. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've gained 1,000 experience in bragging points by 1 point. Chapter 47. You're just a martial general. Can you help me achieve my wish? How dare you boast that you're invincible? Why don't you show me what you can do? All I see is that you're bragging. Little Peacock said disdainfully. The disdain in her eyes was very human-like. Air step. Pa, pa. Wang Kai tapped his foot lightly, and his figure immediately stepped into the air. Every time he took a step, the air would explode into a circle of ripples. How is it? Flying is not something a martial arts grandmaster can do. As long as Ben Xiao wants to, he can do it at any time. Even though Ben Xiao is just a martial general, if he gets serious, he can lift the Shenwu mountain with his bare hands. Wang Kai smiled calmly with his hands behind his back. He looked as if he was talking about something insignificant. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've gained 1,000 experience points and bragging points by 1 point. Little Peacock's eyes lit up at this scene. Someone who is not a martial arts grandmaster could step into the air. A mere martial general could lift the Shenwu mountain with his bare hands. If she had heard this before, she would have been very disdainful. However, now that she had seen Wang Kai's ability to step into the air, her heart was filled with desire. That's amazing. Teach me this move. Little Peacock cried out crisply. She could not help but take a step forward. However, as soon as she moved, she was stopped by Elder Lingdan. Little Peacock seemed to be very dissatisfied. She tilted her head and said angrily, "Master, why are you stopping me?" Elder Lingdan's face turned ugly. He glared at her fiercely. Then, he turned to Elder Ling Shu and said coldly, "Ling Shu, you have a good plan. You know that Roer is still young, so you brought your disciple to trick her? If that's the case, you can leave now. Kai'er, come down. Don't make trouble." Elder Ling Shu said lightly. Wang Kai shrugged and slowly floated down with his hands behind his back. His eyes were fixed on the little peacock. Seeing that she was also looking at him, he was even more determined to get his hands on this little peacock. "Ling Dan, open the Tower of Babel," Elder Ling Shu said. Elder Ling Dan was surprised. At first, he had only guessed, but he wasn't sure. Now that he heard Ling Shu's words, he sneered in his heart. He didn't think that Ling Shu would really allow Wang Kai to enter Tong Tian Tower. He was just a low-level martial general. Was he here to seek death? "The tower is over there. Go in by yourself." Elder Spirit Pill sneered. He raised his hand and pointed into the distance. Then he took the unwilling little peacock and disappeared from the palace. In the center of the large square in front of the palace, there was a small golden pagoda that seemed to be only 5 or 6 meters tall. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and curiously walked closer to take a look. He saw that the pagoda was indeed divided into 9 floors, and in the center of each floor, there was a tightly shut door. Such a small pagoda. How do we enter it? Can it be enlarged? Wang Kai asked in surprise. Elder Ling Shu shook her head and pointed to the door at the bottom of the pagoda. She smiled and said, "You only need to walk towards the pagoda. When your body comes into contact with the pagoda, the door will open automatically and your body will shrink to enter it." Only physical contact? Wang Kai was stunned. He was even more surprised. He couldn't help but stretch out his hand and press it against the body of the Tower of Babel. With a click, the small golden door at the bottom of the pagoda suddenly opened. At this moment, Wang Kai's body shrank rapidly until he was only the size of a thumb. Before he could react, he was pulled in by a strong suction force. During this process, Wang Kai didn't have any resistance, nor did he feel anything strange. It all happened in the blink of an eye. Ling Dan, you supported the Beitang family to take control of the Shenwu Academy. This is your freedom. If you dare to help the Beitang family and secretly harm Wang Kai, don't blame me for not caring about our past relationship. Elder Ling Shu said indifferently. She casually glanced at the palace and sat cross-legged in front of the Tower of Babel. Is this the first level of the Tower of Babel? Wang Kai was quite surprised. He looked around curiously, but all he could see was a vast expanse of whiteness. He looked down and was surprised to find that he didn't even have a shadow. There wasn't a single person around him either. "Welcome to my world. From now on, you and I will accompany each other until we die." As an ethereal voice sounded, Wang Kai's face darkened. He cursed, "F*CKU. Who wants to accompany you until we die? Don't be so shameless. Don't pretend to be a ghost. Come out and die." "Haha, people who have just arrived in my world are as energetic as you. I look forward to seeing you in a year 10 years, 100 years. Will you still be like this? Let me wait and see. Wang Kai couldn't help but fantasize when he heard this. If he would really be trapped here for a long time, then he would absolutely be bored to death. Not to mention a year. He wouldn't even be willing to stay here for a day. You look down on this young master too much. Not to mention 10 years or 100 years. Even if it 1,000 years or 10,000 years, this young master would still dare to say no. This young master has existed in this world for tens of thousands of years. How could a coward like you understand my loneliness? Wang Kai snorted disdainfully. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and bragging points. Oh, so we are fated. I have also existed for tens of thousands of years. I have met countless people. Sadly, they are all like fleeting clouds. Since you can live for tens of thousands of years, I think we can accompany each other for a long time to relieve our loneliness. Oh, F***. When Wang Kai heard this, black lines appeared on his forehead. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he said, "Damn, I have met my bragging opponent today. I didn't know that you were so good at bragging." Haha, I've never bragged. I've lived for tens of thousands of years and enlightened countless experts. Some became the overlords of a region, some became the emperor of a province, and some even became the immortal of a world. However, their lifespans are limited in the end. How hateful! I possess such ability, yet I'm unable to find a good friend to accompany me. Damn it, he is definitely here to steal my rice bowl. When I meet this kind of person, I must not be emotional. I must be calm. Wang Kai's brows eased up, and his expression was indifferent to the extreme. He flicked his clothes and said with a light smile, "I'm ashamed to say this, but this young master has only enlightened a single expert. Relying on this young master's guidance, not only did he become a supreme being in the universe, he even obtained the ability to live forever. Now, I don't know where he is." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 6th grade Marshal General. Chapter 48. Kid, you've gone overboard with your boasting. Finally, he couldn't hold it in any longer and revealed his true colors. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. Based on the illusory voice transmission and his words, if it were anyone else, they would have fallen for his trick. After all, the Tower of Babel was an ancestral weapon, the treasure of the Shenwu Academy. In addition, the disciples who entered were all below the age of 30 and were all martial generals. It was too easy to deceive them. This young master has lived in this world for tens of thousands of years, and I have never bragged. I have always been dutiful. It's just that my personality is too straightforward. So how can I be excessive? Wang Kai smiled indifferently. Congratulations to the host for successfully boasting. You've received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Brat, you really are a disgraceful bastard. In the past, when a disciple enters Skysplit Tower, most of them would kneel down and call me senior, begging me to allow them to enter the next level. Only a small number of people are able to maintain their original hearts and see through this illusion. But you actually dared to boast in front of me. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and put his hands behind his back. He said disdainfully, "Don't compare those rotten shrimps with Ben Shao. How can they be on the same level as Ben Shao? Ben Shao's martial arts can reach the heavens. His literary skills can destroy the earth. He can crush the stars with a flick of his finger and turn the desert into an oasis with a spit of his saliva. With such abilities, even you would be too scared to reveal your true self." Congratulations to the host for successfully boasting. You've received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Whoosh! Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of Wang Kai. Whether it was his appearance, behavior, or even expression, they were all exactly the same as Wang Kai. The only difference was that there were 2 long sabers on his back. The hilts were clearly visible on the left and right sides of his neck, while the blades protruded from the sides of his waist. Kid, you're saying that I don't dare to reveal my true self? Seeing this, Wang Kai's face suddenly darkened. He frowned and stared at him, gritting his teeth and laughing. Hee, it seems that you really admire Ben Shao. How about it? Don't you think that this young master's looks and poise are extraordinary? If you go out like this, you'll definitely be able to hook up with tens of thousands of beauties, right? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Could this be considered bragging? Ben Shao was clearly very formidable, okay? The first floor of Tong Tian Tower is called Killing Self. If you can kill yourself, then go ahead. If you can't, then stay here forever. Solar Fist. Wang Kai chuckled disdainfully. He quickly put his hands together and formed a hollow shape. In the hollow shape, a dazzling light suddenly flashed, piercing the fake Wang Kai and forcing him to close his eyes. 10 dragon-subduing slaps. Pah! Immediately, Wang Kai stepped in front of the fake Wang Kai. He raised his hand and gathered green battle chi, then slapped down on the fake Wang Kai's head. After 10 consecutive slaps, the fake Wang Kai's figure dissipated into nothingness. Whoosh! After the illusory figure disappeared, Wang Kai suddenly felt a strong suction force descend on his body. It was exactly the same as when he entered Tong Tian Tower. Before he could react, his body was pulled up in a straight line, turning into a stream of light and disappearing in the blink of an eye. What kind of freak is that kid? It's fine if he's not afraid of me, but even my illusory technique can't do anything to him. The only martial technique that I can detect is the cloud flipping palm. I can't determine the level of his martial arts, and can only generalize that he's at the martial general realm. But why can't I detect the 2 martial techniques that he just displayed? Even if my illusory technique is used against a martial ancestor realm expert, I can still detect the opponent's martial arts realm, the martial techniques that he cultivates, and even all the means that he uses to fight the enemy. From there, I can create an illusory figure that's exactly the same as the real body. In this way, when the 2 fight, it's extremely difficult to determine the winner. But that kid just can't detect it. How strange. How strange. No, I have to figure it out. Maybe that kid can really help me. In a vast space, a voice full of surprise reverberated. Then, a stream of light shot straight up into the sky. Is it high this time? How interesting. I don't know who was the one who spoke on the first floor. He's such an idiot. He even said something about illusory techniques. It's fine if he can create my appearance, but why can't he create his ability as well? He was destroyed in just 1 move. How boring. Wang Kai stood on the sea and looked at the boundless sea. His expression was full of disdain. It seemed that this Tongtian Tower was not difficult at all, or rather, it was good at bragging. Welcome to my world. Stop. You don't have to talk nonsense and brag. You're not suitable for this job. Hurry up and get out. It's best if you don't end up like that idiot on the first floor, blowing out a bullshit illusion. Wang Kai's forehead was full of black lines, and he quickly waved his hand to interrupt. Kid, don't compare me to that useless cat on the first floor. His lousy illusory technique can only deceive children. Hearing this, Wang Kai nodded in agreement, putting on a look of appreciation and chuckling. You're right, but why did you create this sea? Let Ben Shao swim and catch 2 fish. Then you should create a beach. At least let Ben Shao bask in the sun and see the bikinis of the beauty. Trash. How dare you insult me? Whoosh. Suddenly, a white light appeared. As the white light dissipated, an extremely fat, white cat appeared on the surface of the sea. It was more than a meter tall, and there were 2 golden earrings on its 2 erect cat ears. There were 2 long sabers on its back that were crossed. Its upright posture made it look like a big-bellied Mithril Buddha. It looked extremely happy. Trash. Why didn't you guard the first floor? What are you doing on the second floor? Do you want to be punished by the Cat King of the 9th floor? It seems that you haven't suffered enough over the years. Whoosh! At the same time, another cat that looked exactly the same appeared in front of the big white cat. However, its fur was blue, and it also carried 2 long swords on its back. The earrings on its ears were also golden. Are you guys trying to tell Ben Xiao that you're all split from the same body? Wang Kai smacked his lips and looked at them in astonishment. Kid, shut up. You don't have the right to interrupt. The two big cats scolded at the same time. OF*CK. Are you guys trying to rebel? Wang Kai's face darkened. He stepped on the surface of the sea and walked straight to them. He grabbed each of them by the neck and lifted them up. You guys are quite heavy. You must have eaten a lot, right? You must be at least 70 to 80 kilograms, right? Do you think you're strong just because you're heavier? How dare you act tough in front of Ben Xiao? Do you believe that Ben Xiao will strip you of all your fur? Wang Kai threatened fiercely. Chapter 49. Arrogant. Bang, bang. The two big cats narrowed their eyes and scolded in unison. They swung their tails and fiercely slapped Wang Kai's chest. Crash. Caught off guard. Wang Kai's figure was suddenly beaten back by more than 10 steps. His feet swept across the surface of the sea, raising layers of waves. First and second grade demon generals? You guys aren't that strong. Wang Kai steadied his body and rubbed his aching chest. He looked at them with a playful expression. He thought that these two big cats were at least upper-grade martial generals. Otherwise, why would those ninth-grade martial generals who had entered the Tong Tian Tower die? But, judging from the attack just now, their cultivation levels were not that high. Our true strength is not in our realm, but in our illusory techniques. The big blue cat snorted. The big white cat gently nodded and swayed its tail. It raised its paw and pointed at the sea, saying, "But the sea here is real. The fact that you didn't fall in proves that your state of mind is still stable." The sea is real? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. He couldn't help but look down. Only then did he realize that he was standing on the surface of the sea. He didn't use battle chi, nor did he use any martial techniques. Yet, he was able to stand on the surface of the sea without falling. However, when Wang Kai discovered this fact, he heard a splash and his body suddenly fell into the sea. No matter how hard he swam, he couldn't stop his body from falling. It was like a swamp. The harder he swam, the faster he fell. Bottom feeder, your guess is really bad. I just praised him and his state of mind was disturbed and he fell in. The big blue cat laughed disdainfully. Hearing this, the big white cat's expression became strange. Looking at the falling Wang Kai, it couldn't help but sigh in its heart. It seems that I was wrong. He wasn't affected by my illusory technique on the first floor. Maybe it was because I was so angry at his boasting that I couldn't use my illusory technique properly. Empty steps. Crash. Pa. Papa. Suddenly, the seawater churned, and Wang Kai's figure pierced through the surface of the sea. As his feet moved, he ascended into the air, and the air under his feet exploded with ripples. Damn it, what was going on with the seawater? That's too weird. Wang Kai's face darkened as he cursed loudly. He wiped his face with a lingering fear. If he hadn't used his martial technique, empty step, he would have drowned in the sea. Meow, meow. When the big white cat and the big blue cat saw this, they couldn't help but scream. The fur on their bodies stood up, and they looked at Wang Kai, who was standing in the air, in disbelief. Their eyes were about to pop out. He's not in the martial ancestor realm, but he can actually step on air. The big blue cat exclaimed. This sea is not an illusion. Life and death depends on one's state of mind. If one's state of mind is messed up and they fall into the sea, it will be difficult for them to come back up unless they can walk on air. This brat's martial arts realm is definitely only that of a martial general, but he can walk on air. Maybe he can really help me. The big white cat thought to itself. Wang Kai's expression was extremely ugly. His entire body was soaked, and his feet kept moving as if it was raining as he shook off the water droplets from his body. He looked down at the surface of the sea, unwilling to fall any further. Just the power of this sea was enough to bury countless ninth-grade martial generals. If not for his martial technique that allowed him to step on air, he definitely wouldn't have survived. It's just the ability to step on air. Ben Xiao was already able to do it when he was 3 years old. What other tricks do you have? Hurry up and use them. Ben Xiao's time is very precious. Every minute, tens of millions of taels of silver will fall into his hands. I don't have the time to waste with you 2 pieces of trash, Wang Kai said with a disdainful smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience and bragging points of 1 point. Bragging? The 2 big cats said disdainfully in unison. Wang Kai's expression was extremely indifferent when he heard this. He looked at them without a care in the world and laughed softly. It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. What's important is that you can't do anything to Ben Xiao. Hee, you can only blame Ben Xiao's innate talent. He's not someone an ordinary person can compare to. That's why the mortals of the world find it hard to believe. It's all because they are too stupid to be able to do what Ben Xiao can do. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience and bragging points of 1 point. When these words came out, the 2 big cats immediately gnashed their teeth in anger. However, the way they gnashed their teeth looked extremely funny. Oof, so what if you can step on air? This cat grandpa will show you the power of a high-level illusion technique. It's definitely not something that can be used by a lowly person. The big blue cat snorted in disdain. He pulled out the large knife on his back and stabbed it into the sea. Whoosh, whoosh. When the long knife was completely submerged in the sea, the waves suddenly rolled up. The rising sea water condensed together and transformed into a figure. When the facial features and clothes were completely condensed, the figure looked exactly like Wang Kai. However, there was only 1 large knife on his back. Wang Kai's face darkened when he saw this. His hands behind his back were clenched into fists. He gritted his teeth and stared at Ben Xiao. He sneered, I didn't expect you to admire Ben Xiao so much. You want to use Ben Xiao's appearance to show off? At least you have some self-awareness. Like Ben Xiao's heroic figure, it's enough to say that this body only exists in the heavens, but not in the mortal world. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've gained 1,000 experience and 1 bragging point. The big blue cat was extremely disdainful when he heard this. He raised his paw and pointed at the condensed figure. He snorted coldly. He has the same martial arts cultivation method and martial arts realm as you. Even your thoughts are the same. Such a high-level illusion technique is definitely not something that a lowly person can perform. Haha, you'll regret it later. The big white cat sneered in a low voice. Whoosh! Wang Kai's feet suddenly moved, and his figure suddenly rushed towards the condensed figure. He formed a seal with his hands, and in the middle of the hollow shape, a dazzling light suddenly flashed. As Wang Kai moved, the fake Wang Kai obviously had the same idea. He formed a seal with his hands and formed the same hollow shape, but there was no light flashing in it. Solar punch. 10 dragon-subduing slaps. Pa-pa-pa. Clatter. The fake Wang Kai's eyes were directly closed by the dazzling light. In the blink of an eye, Wang Kai's successive cyan palm prints destroyed his body. He turned back into waves and blended into the sea. Now you know how strange this boy is, right? His body can be transformed, but his cultivation method, martial arts technique, and even martial arts realm can't be transformed. Bang! The big white cat laughed coldly. It reached out its paws and pulled out the 2 long knives on its back. Its body moved and became a white light. It slashed the big blue cat and turned it into a blue ball of light. At this moment, Wang Kai, who was facing the same situation as before, was being pulled up by a huge force. He clearly saw the blue ball of light that the big blue cat had turned into being swallowed by the big white cat in 1 gulp. Chapter 50. Tong Tian Tower, 3rd floor. Wang Kai stood alone in the middle of a sea of fire. There was no blue sky above his head, only the spreading flames. When he looked down, he also couldn't see anything. His whole body was wrapped in flames, and there was no gap to be seen. All he could see was the raging flames. Is it fire this time? After water, there's fire. It should be an illusion, right? There is no power at all. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled indifferently. Although he was in the flames, he could not feel any heat or burning sensation. It was as if the flames were just an obstacle and did not pose any threat to him. Kid, your mental state is really not bad. I hope you'll be able to maintain it. Don't be like when you were guarding the second level, where your mental state suddenly became chaotic. If that happens, you'll definitely be swallowed by the sea of fire here and be forcefully refined into ashes. Hearing this, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. His expression became quite playful. The owner of this voice must be the big white cat. Just now, he saw it swallow the big blue cat. He did not expect it to follow closely behind. Big white cat, why did you follow me? Don't tell me you want to take advantage of the loophole and swallow the third floor's guards? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked with a smile. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, a series of loud noises sounded. In front of Wang Kai, a passage without flames appeared. At the other end of the passage stood the big white cat. You guessed right. This cat has such a plan. Pay attention to your feet. Don't let your state of mind become unstable. If you accidentally fall, you'll be like those corpses and bones that are pierced by the sharp blades. You'll be dead. The big white cat stretched out its paw and pointed below. Its expression was quite serious as it warned. Wang Kai was startled when he heard this and couldn't help but look down. At a glance, he was shocked to discover that he was standing high up in the sky, and a few thousand meters below, there were numerous black blades flickering with black light. These blades were arranged in a dense array, and on each of them, there were corpses and bones that had been dead for an unknown period of time. It was like skewering meat. The difference was that the sharp blades were piercing through human corpses. If the big white cat had not opened the passage and cleared the surrounding flames, Wang Kai believed that he would not have discovered such a scene. Ahem, there is nothing to be afraid of. Even if Ben Shao falls, he can still use the air-stepping martial technique. A mere third floor is nothing more than this. Wang Kai's face was a little stiff as he laughed dryly. It would be a lie if he said that he was not afraid. He more or less felt his hair stand on end. He secretly tried his best to calm his state of mind, afraid that something would really go wrong. In his heart, he did not expect that the third floor's methods would be so ruthless. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. No, you were wrong. The reason why the third floor is set in the sky is because it forbids air stepping. The difficulty lies in one's state of mind. The big white cat hurriedly waved its paw and warned. Its serious look was as if it was afraid that Wang Kai would make a mistake. It actually forbids air stepping? Did it have to be so ruthless? Wang Kai's heart thumped violently when he heard this. His previously calm state of mind was suddenly thrown into chaos. He originally thought that even if he fell, he could use the air-stepping martial technique to step into the air. Therefore, there was nothing to be afraid of. But now, he actually heard that this place forbids air-stepping whoosh. F***CK, your grandfather's big stupid cat. Next time, can you not talk so much nonsense? Wang Kai felt his legs become empty as his body fell from the sky. He could only hear the wind whistling in his ears as he looked down at the black sharp blade that was getting closer and closer. He wanted to use the air-stepping martial technique to flip over, but he found that he could not do so. His face immediately darkened. Meow. The big white cat cried out in alarm when it saw this. It hurriedly pulled out a long knife from its back and threw it at the falling Wang Kai. It then pulled out another knife and slashed at the flames beside it. Clang! The sound of metal clashing could be heard from within the flames. A fiery red cat appeared with a long saber in its paws. It stared at the white cat with a fierce and violent expression. Bottom feeder, why didn't you guard the first floor properly? Why did you come to this Lord Cat's third floor? You actually dared to save that brat who tried to challenge the tower. Aren't you afraid of being punished by Lord Cat King? The fiery red big cat scolded angrily. At the same time, Wang Kai, who was falling from the sky, managed to stabilize his body with the help of the long saber. His palm, which was tightly holding the blade, was cut and dripping with blood. He looked down at the sharp black blade, which was only a few dozen meters away from him. If he was a little later, he would definitely be skewered into a meat skewer. Damn it. Is there any way to use the air-stepping martial technique? Wong Kai cursed with a dark face. He thought to himself that he must teach the third floor's guard a lesson. If it wasn't for the big white cat's help, he would have fallen to the ground. It has always been me eating meat skewers. Since when did I get skewered into meat skewers? Host, to break this forbidden space illusion, 1 bragging point is required. Hearing this prompt, Wong Kai grinned fiercely, his eyes flashing a cold light as he grit his teeth and sneered. It only consumed a little. Quickly break this forbidden space illusion technique for this father. Congratulations to host for successfully breaking the forbidden space illusion. 1 bragging point is required. Air-stepping martial technique. Pa! Pa! Wong Kai's face darkened. He immediately activated his battle chi and stepped into the air. Because of his anger, the ripples under his feet became even more violent. The ripples under his feet grew from the size of a palm to the size of a basin. Its speed also increased by several times. What kind of evildoer dares to frame Ben Shao? Don't you know that Ben Shao and Hades are buddies? Damn it, if you don't see Hades' order, you'll be able to act tough until dawn. Wong Kai cursed with a dark face. His feet stepped into the air, and in an instant, he was in the midst of the raging flames. Congratulations to host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Bastard, you actually saved the kid who challenged the tower. Once the Cat King finds out about this, he won't let you off easily. When the big red cat heard Wong Kai's scolding, it was so angry that it stomped its feet. It had been hiding in the flames all this while observing Wong Kai and the white cat. It was waiting for an opportunity to strike a fatal blow. When it saw Wong Kai suddenly fall from the sky, it thought that there was no need for it to make a move. However, he never expected that the big white cat would actually dare to save him. Just as he was about to stop it, he was blocked by the big white cat with a slash of its saber. Damn bottom feeder. I must report this to Cat King. The fiery red cat was getting angrier and angrier. It waved its 2 long knives and cried out in the flames. Chapter 51. Reporting to your uncle. Bang! Wong Kai's face darkened as he cursed loudly. His feet moved in the air, and in an instant, he appeared in front of the big red cat. He raised his hand and slapped down fiercely, turning the big red cat into a ball of flames. Good job. Huh! The big white cat shouted in surprise. It jumped to the front of the flame and swallowed it. The big white cat's body flashed with a red light, and its body shrunk. When it returned to its original appearance, it stuck out its tongue and licked its white paws. It looked quite excited. 3rd grade Demon General. Wong Kai raised his eyebrows and looked at it with a playful expression. When he was on the 2nd floor, he was only a 1st grade Demon General. After swallowing the big blue cat and now the big red cat, he reached the 3rd grade Demon General realm. The guards on each floor would increase by 1 grade. If that was the case, didn't it mean that the 4th floor above should be guarded by a 4th grade Demon General? After the big white cat swallowed it, its realm would increase again and reach the 4th grade Demon General realm. Kid, you're really not bad. You can actually step on the Forbidden Sky illusion. Meow. How did you step on the air? The big white cat suddenly reacted and exclaimed with its eyes wide open. All the fur on its body stood up. Wong Kai shrugged and stepped on the air with his hands behind his back. He smiled indifferently and said, Hee hee, it's just an illusion. With Ben Shao's supreme skill, it's easy to break such a trashy illusion. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 1,000 experience and bragging points. He must be bragging again. The big white cat's face was full of disdain. It raised its paw, and the long saber that saved Wong Kai flew over. It neatly and accurately inserted into the scabbard on its back. It licked its paws and smiled faintly. Kid, Cat Grandpa doesn't care how you can step on the air, but don't be too arrogant. If it wasn't for Cat Grandpa's Demon Foundation being damaged, even if a saint was hit by Cat Grandpa's illusion, he would cry and beg Cat Grandpa to let him go. Hee hee, so what if he's a sage? It's not that I want to boast, but even if it's a golden immortal of the great all-embracing heaven, as long as they are in front of me, they have to bow down and greet me. Master Kai. Wang Kai flicked his clothes and smiled proudly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and reaching rank 7 Marshal General. The big white cat's body suddenly froze, and its body trembled slightly. It was so angry that it wanted to go up and hit him a few times. But when it thought about its situation and level, it knew that it was no match for this kid. It could only helplessly shake its head and sigh. Fine, fine. Cat Master is open-minded. I won't argue with a little kid. Pa! Wang Kai's face darkened. Without another word, he went forward and grabbed the cat. He grabbed the cat's fur tightly and threatened fiercely. Big stupid cat, tell me, what is your purpose? If you don't tell me clearly, you'll be a bald cat in the future. Junior, how dare you? Cat Master was enraged. It swung its tail and lashed out. Bang! Seeing this, Wang Kai smiled disdainfully. He reached out his hand and easily grabbed the cat's tail. Then, he lifted the tail and swung his arm, spinning the big white cat in circles. His speed was extremely fast, and, in the end, he turned into a windmill. Meow. Don't spin anymore. Cat Master is convinced. Cat Master is convinced. Hee hee, Bin Xiao has lived in this world for tens of thousands of years. The experts I've seen are as many as the carps in the river. Which one of them didn't obey me? You actually dared to pretend to be a senior in front of Bin Xiao. Look at your cowardly appearance. If you dare to be impolite next time, you'll end up like this bald cat. Wang Kai laughed coldly. He flipped his hand and threw the big white cat away. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Bang! Bang! The big white cat fell into the flames. Its body swayed as if it was drunk. It stood up and swayed twice before falling down again. It was as if it was drunk. Kid, let's make a deal. You help Cat Master devour all the guards on the upper floors. Then, you and Cat Master will work together to defeat the guard of the 9th floor, the Cat King. Once you succeed, Cat Master will help you activate the power of the bloodline. The big white cat said intermittently. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and looked at him playfully. He rubbed his chin and smiled. That's a good deal. But how did you know that Bin Xiao wanted to activate the power of the bloodline? Did you pry into my thoughts? No. Everyone who enters the Tong Tian Tower has the ultimate goal of activating the power of the bloodline. According to Cat Master's guess, you are no exception, right? Cat Master hurriedly waved his paws and explained. In his heart, he muttered, if only I could pry into your secrets. Would I have to negotiate with you in such a humble manner? Wang Kai's expression was inexplicable. His eyes flickered. He knew nothing about the big white cat's identity. He also did not know what the cat's current situation was. It had actually split into multiple identical copies. However, from the fact that it had managed to break through to the next level after devouring one, even if it managed to devour the last level, it would only be a 9th level Marshal General. It would not be much of a threat to Wang Kai. Bin Xiao's innate talent is unparalleled. It's just the power of the bloodline. Why would he need your help? Wang Kai shrugged and laughed disdainfully. Congratulations to host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. The big white cat was filled with disdain. It shook its head and sneered. That's impossible. Without Cat Master's help, no one would be able to activate the power of the bloodline. Brat, don't treat the power of the bloodline as a cabbage. In this world, how many martial experts have reached the heavens? But in the end, because of the disparity in the power of the bloodline, they fell under the sharp blades of their opponents? Haha. In the end, they could only regret it for the rest of their lives. As these words were spoken, Wang Kai's eyebrows slightly furrowed. Indeed, he had heard from Uncle Fu that the power of the bloodline was extremely difficult to activate. Those who were able to activate the power of the bloodline were all world-shaking martial artists. They could kill opponents of a higher level. If one possessed a 10th level bloodline, they could even kill opponents of a higher level. Such ability was absolutely explosive. Is there any way to control this big, stupid cat? Wang Kai asked softly in his mind. Host, to forcefully sign a bloodline contract with a demon general expert, 10 bragging points are required. 10 bragging points? After hearing the notification, Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. He looked at the big white cat with a playful expression, causing Cat Master to feel a chill run down its spine. Brat, Cat Master can see that you are up to no good, Cat Master coldly said. With a clank, it extended its claws and pulled out the 2 long blades on its back. Control him. Chapter 52. Congratulations to the host for successfully initiating a blood contract. 10 bragging points have been consumed. Wang. A blood-red circle appeared beneath the feet of Wang Kai and Lord Cat. The two of them were standing on opposite ends of the blood circle. The words beneath Wang Kai's feet were written primary, while Lord Cat's feet were written secondary. In the middle of the red circle, there was another word, contract. As the blood continued to flow, the rest of the circle gradually formed into dense and complicated runes. During this process, Wang Kai was shocked to find that his body was unable to move, as if he had lost consciousness. Damn brat. What did you do to Lord Cat? Is it a spell formation? Impossible. In a mere fan province, it is impossible for a spell formation cultivator to appear. Furthermore, a spell formation formed by blood. Lord Cat has never seen one before. Blood. Lord Cat's eyes widened as his fur stood on end. He stared at the runes and the words. The more he looked, the angrier he became. He struggled with all his might, but found that he was unable to resist. He sneered, hee, primary and secondary. You bastard brat, are you trying to establish a blood contract with Lord Cat? That's right. For a prodigy like me, my future is limitless. The number of beasts who are crying and begging to sign a blood contract with me is simply too many to count. You are fortunate enough to be able to sign a blood contract with Ben Shao. However, you don't have to thank Ben Shao. Wang Kai's expression was indifferent as he smiled. In his heart, he thought that this bragging was really comfortable. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. This was too much of a bully. Lord Cat was so angry that he ground his teeth. The white whiskers on his cheeks trembled nonstop. Lord Cat's illusions were earth-shattering. Coming to Fan Province, he was actually forced to sign a blood contract with such a young man. If news of this were to spread, wouldn't he become a laughing stock? Host, you can form a contract with a drop of blood. Hearing the notification, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. He could not help but move his body. Realizing that the forceful control had disappeared, he raised his arm and flicked his finger. A drop of blood shot out from his finger and dripped into the blood-red circle. On the other side, no matter how unwilling Lord Cat was, he was still forced by a force to control his claws. He slowly unsheathed his long saber and gently slashed his arm. As the blood dripped down, the red circle became 2 red lights. They merged into Wang Kai and Uncle Cat's eyebrows. Host, the bloodline contract has been formed. With a single thought, the secondary contractor can be destroyed. A single thought? Wang Kai grinned when he heard this and looked at Grandpa Cat playfully. He rubbed his chin and smiled. Big stupid cat, tell me, what are your abilities? Ben Shao needs to consider your usefulness. Consider my usefulness? Once these words were said, Lord Cat was so angry that his body trembled. He tightly gripped his long saber as his pupils shrank. He grinded his teeth and sneered. Brat, you dare to form a bloodline contract with Lord Cat. You really have guts. I hope you never leave Fan Province in the future, or else. Haha. Hee, big stupid cat. Are you trying to tell Ben Shao that you have many enemies outside of Fan Province? Or are you trying to tell him how awesome you are outside of Fan Province? Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and said disdainfully. Hearing this, Cat Lord squinted his eyes and put his saber back into its scabbard. He stretched out his paw and scratched the long beard beside his cheek. He said calmly, I don't have many enemies, only 5. Cat Lord isn't that awesome, but I can make thousands of demons tremble. Clap, clap, clap. Wong Kai immediately clapped his hands. His expression was extremely interesting. He raised his thumb and praised. Good boasting. Good boasting. Looks like you don't have much ability, but you are good at boasting. How about this? Bin Xiao is about to form a boasting alliance. I'll leave it to you to manage. Boasting alliance? Brat, Lord Cat isn't boasting. With your talent, I'm afraid you won't be able to verify it in your lifetime. Lord Cat would say that you should think about how to reach the 4th floor. Before the Guardian transforms into a human form, you have to defeat the Guardian. Tong Tian Tower doesn't have such a rule. Lord Cat sneered. Wong Kai raised his eyebrows and rubbed his chin. He smiled in surprise. Then you mean that the challenger has to battle with the Guardian's transmogrified body. Only after defeating the transmogrified body can one automatically ascend to the next floor? That's right, that's the rule. In each level's test of the mind, you will use your illusory form to interfere with the challengers. Only by defeating your opponent under such tempering will you be able to ascend to the next level. Unfortunately, you have lost the qualification. Cat Lord sneered proudly. The 1st floor was the Pale World. If one couldn't pass it for a long time, it would make one feel lonely and isolated. Naturally, one's state of mind would be unstable. Who would want to stay in a world without a person for a lifetime? The 2nd floor was the Sea of Mind. It also tested one's state of mind. As long as one's state of mind was disturbed, one would fall into the sea. If one's state of mind couldn't be stabilized and one couldn't step on air, it meant death. During this process, there would be interference from opponents with the same ability as the original body. The 2 types of training added together were extremely difficult. The 3rd floor was the Fire of Mind. It was located high in the sky and filled with flames. One couldn't see anything clearly. If one's state of mind was unstable, one would be burned to death by the flames. One would even fall from the sky and be pierced to death by sharp blades. If another figure with the same ability as the original body appeared to interfere, wouldn't it be a narrow escape? Wong Kai frowned and thought to himself. He roughly understood the difficulty of the Tower of Babel. It tested the warrior's state of mind. At the same time, one had to constantly battle with oneself. As one continued to break through, one state of mind would continue to sublimate until it was as tranquil as an ancient well. Hee boy, are you afraid? If you can't ascend to the next floor, you will be imprisoned here for the rest of your life. Although Lord Cat doesn't know how you broke the forbidden space illusion with your general level battle chi, how long can you maintain the step on air martial skill? Lord Cat laughed softly. His small paws kept stroking his long whiskers. It was obvious that he was in a good mood. Big stupid cat, Bin Xiao doesn't want to talk nonsense with you. I just want to ask, do you want to live or die? Wong Kai asked with a calm smile with his hands behind his back. Shua. As soon as these words came out, Lord Cat, who was in a good mood, suddenly froze. His paws couldn't help but fiercely pull, directly pulling out a strand of his whiskers. He bared his teeth and said angrily, Damn boy, you win. Bin Xiao is broad-minded and treats people kindly. He knows that peace is the most important thing. Even if you are only a cat, Bin Xiao will still treat you as an equal. Hurry up and take Bin Xiao to the 4th floor, Wong Kai said with a calm smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience and 1 bragging point. Please add, please recommend. Chapter 53. Since Cat Grandpa still has a use for you, I'll let you be smug for a while longer. It's just a mere bloodline contract, yet you still want to control Cat Grandpa. The martial practitioners of Fan Province are all ignorant and fearless. Lord Cat snorted inwardly. He walked in front of Wong Kai and grabbed his shoulder. Then, he turned into a silver-white stream of light and charged upwards. 4th floor of Sky Split Tower, Ice Lotus Hell. The temperature of the endless ice mountains and snowy peaks was extremely cold. Even the hot air that was blown out would instantly freeze, especially the heavy snowfall that filled the sky, each layer higher than the last. In just a few breaths, Wang Kai's figure was already covered by the falling snowflakes. Pata! Pata! Wang Kai hurriedly circulated his battle chi and covered his hands with it. He pushed it a few times to scatter the accumulated snow, only to find that he was surrounded by snow. He looked up and saw that the height of the snow was still increasing. In just a few breaths, the snowflakes had accumulated to a height of more than 10 meters. Air step. Pa! Pa pa! Wang Kai's feet tapped repeatedly as he ascended into the air. He originally thought that he could avoid being covered by the snowflakes, but he guessed wrong. The falling snowflakes had obviously increased in speed. He was already about 100 meters high in the air, but the snowflakes had also accumulated to about 100 meters. Damn it, do you want to bury Ben Shao alive? Wang Kai cursed with a darkened face. He tapped his feet once again and ascended into the air. However, the height of the accumulated snow was also increasing. Seeing this scene, he couldn't help but look around. The endless snow was all increasing in height. Kid, your state of mind. Your state of mind must be stable. Do you understand? Lord Cat stood on top of the accumulated snow and shouted at Wang Kai in the air. When Wang Kai heard that, he lowered his head to look. He was surprised to see that Cat Lord's body was not moving. As the snow continued to pile up, his body also continued to rise. It was as if the snow was pushing him higher and higher. He was not going to be buried. Your current state of mind can't even be considered a beginner. It can only guarantee that you won't be attacked by the cold, but it can't guarantee that you won't be covered by the ice and snow. Kid, your cultivation is still not deep enough. Cat Grandpa shook his head and sighed. Papa. Wang Kai kept leaping into the air to avoid being chased by the heavy snow. However, his battle chi was not enough to keep leaping in the air. As the saying goes, a man's strength was limited. Eventually, he would be engulfed by the heavy snow due to exhaustion. Whoosh! Suddenly, Wang Kai's figure paused. He placed his hands behind his back and stopped ascending. With a calm expression, he smiled and said, You said that Ben Shao's cultivation is not profound enough. Wasn't that a fantasy? It's not that Ben Shao can't maintain a steady state of mind. It's that he disdains to maintain it. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Cat Lord's face was full of disdain. He stroked his long whiskers and sneered, Boy, if you don't continue to rise, you'll be buried alive. Is it possible to break the illusion here? Wang Kai asked in his mind. Host, to break this ice and snow illusion, 1 bragging point is required. Only 1 point? Wang Kai heard the prompt and grinned. His expression became even more arrogant. He waved his hand and said, Break. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking this ice and snow illusion. You have received 1 bragging point. Buzz. No more snow fell from the sky, and the temperature returned to normal. Although the accumulated snow did not disappear, it did not increase in height. Hee, have you seen it now? Ben Shao's cultivation is terrifyingly high. There is no one in this world who can compare with me, Wang Kai said with a calm smile. His body slowly landed on top of the accumulated snow. His steps were so relaxed that not even a single footprint was left behind. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Seeing this, Cat Lord squinted his eyes and looked at Wang Kai excitedly. The more powerful he was, the more he would be able to help Cat Lord. However, although the illusion here was not as powerful as before, it was still something that Cat Lord had set up. Seeing Wang Kai so disdainful, Cat Lord felt a little uncomfortable. Ice Cat, come out. Your illusion is too weak to deal with this boy, Cat Lord said with a smile. Swoosh! Suddenly, a big white cat appeared. He pulled out 2 long swords from his back and shook his head, causing his golden earrings to jingle. He scolded angrily. Imposter from the 1st floor. What are you doing here on the 4th floor of Cat Lord's? You were the one who helped him break the illusion just now, weren't you? Bastard. Who is the imposter between the two of us? Don't you know? You are just a part of Cat Lord's power. Cat Lord said with disdain. The big white cat bared his fangs and pointed his long swords at Wang Kai. He said with a look of disdain, "Are you trying to use him to help you defeat Lord Cat Lord? Cat Lord advises you to stop dreaming. This boy can't even calm his mind. Cat Lord doesn't even need to transform into his body to interfere with him. How can such a weak human be a match for Lord Cat Lord? F***ck me. I can't pretend that I didn't hear that." Wang Kai's face darkened. He placed his hands behind his back and looked at the cat from the corner of his eyes. He said with disdain, "It's just a matter of calming one's mind. Ben Xiao just doesn't care about it. It's just like an illusion. Ben Xiao can easily break it. Why would he need to calm his mind?" Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Imposter. Did you find a bragging king? You were the one who broke the illusion just now. How dare he say that he was the one who broke it? How ignorant and shameless. The Snow White Cat sneered. Cat Lord narrowed his eyes and gently stroked his long whiskers. He said softly, "He's right. The illusion just now was not broken by Cat Lord. It was broken by this boy himself." "No. All right, you don't need to talk nonsense. Hurry up and transform into Ben Xiao's body. Otherwise, Ben Xiao won't be able to hold himself back and will kill you first." Wang Kai waved his hand to interrupt the cat. He looked extremely impatient. The Snow White Cat trembled with anger. He coldly stared at Wang Kai. He gritted his teeth and said, "Ignorant human, you will regret this." Whoosh! Immediately, a figure that looked exactly like Wang Kai appeared. He held the Netherworld sword in one hand and the black dragon blade in the other. He moved his feet and took the lead to attack. "It's just a facade. Solar fist." Seeing this, Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and put his hands together to form a hollow shape. As a dazzling light flashed, the figure that was formed was instantly blinded by the light and closed its eyes. Dragon subduing 10 palms. Pa! Bang! Cyan palm prints flew out one after another. In the blink of an eye, the figure that appeared was slapped into nothingness. It turned into snowflakes that fell onto the snow. It's Cat Lord's turn. Cat Lord grinned and pulled out his long blade. His body flashed and cut the motionless Snow White Cat into a ball of snow. He opened his mouth and swallowed it without any explanation. At the same time, Wang Kai's body automatically rose into the air. He lowered his head and saw that the Snow White Cat had been easily swallowed by Cat Lord. His eyes could not help but flash with a strange light. Chapter 54. What's going on? Why did the Wind of Heart, which I successfully passed, appear at the 6th level? Damn it! There was only the Thunder of Heart just now. Now that there's a gale, how are we going to pass it? Are we going to die here? Damn it! What's going on? The gale swept and the lightning struck. Dozens of young men and women were swept up by the tornado. They allowed the gale to wreak havoc in the sky and dominated their bodies, causing them to be unable to move at all. At the same time, dark clouds gathered high up in the sky, and purple-white lightning flashed. Bolts of lightning as thick as thighs struck down from the sky, directly turning the young men and women who were controlled by the tornado into ashes that fell to the ground. In the areas where the tornado didn't affect, there were also close to 100 young men and women who were fighting with the transformed figures. The transformed figures, regardless of appearance, martial arts realm, or even martial skills, were exactly the same as them. What was even more frightening was that while they were fighting against the figures, lightning would constantly strike down from the sky. Every time it struck, it would cause them psychological disturbances. Even if it couldn't affect their state of mind, it would still give the figures an opportunity to dodge the lightning strikes. "Ah, save me!" a young man screamed in shock. When he was fighting with the transformed figure, his state of mind suddenly became chaotic. At this moment, a tornado suddenly formed beside him and swept his body into the sky. Then, he was turned into ashes by the lightning strikes from the sky. "Bastard! What's going on?" When the remaining young men and women saw this, their faces turned pale. The Heart of Wind test was only available at the 5th level. Everyone present had successfully passed the 5th level and arrived at the 6th level, the Thunder of Heart. Due to the fact that they had to carefully dodge the falling lightning during the battle with the physical body, their bodies and minds were extremely exhausted. However, at this moment, the 5th level of the Heart of Wind suddenly appeared. With the 2 great tests added together, everyone had already sunk into a bitter battle. In just a short span of 100 breaths, dozens of disciples had already died. Some were turned into ashes by the lightning strikes, and some were killed on the spot by the figures. Everyone, guard your state of mind and don't panic. As long as your state of mind is stable, you won't be swept away by the gale. When the time comes, you'll be able to defeat the illusory form. A young man shouted loudly. That's right. As long as our state of mind is stable, no matter if it's the wind or the thunder, they won't be able to harm us. When the crowd heard this, they swept their gazes over. Sure enough, there were many disciples who did not dodge the lightning and allowed the lightning to strike their bodies. However, the lightning was unable to cause any harm to them. No! Save me! However, there were still a few disciples whose mental states were suddenly disturbed. They were swept up by the fierce wind and struck by the falling lightning, turning into ashes. That makes sense, but how many people are able to maintain their mental state? In the distance, Wang Kai and Cat Lord stood quietly. No matter how the lightning struck them, they were unharmed. Kid, this is all your fault. If you didn't destroy the first few levels of illusion, Cat King wouldn't have noticed anything. He also wouldn't have merged the 5th level's Wind of Heart and the 6th level's Thunder of Heart into one. Now, they're going through 2 levels of the test. Cat King stroked his long beard and laughed. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders nonchalantly and smiled. It's just an illusion. Ben Shao can break it with a puff of his breath. If you ask me, that Bullshaster's Cat Lord is also a piece of trash. I only managed to break a few of his illusions, and he got angry out of humiliation. With such a small heart, he still has the nerve to use his mental state to train others. Ben Shao is still the most open-minded. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have been rewarded with 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Is that a problem with a few illusions? Kid, do you know that once the illusions on the 3rd and 4th levels are broken, those who come in the future will not be threatened at all? Cat Lord snorted in disdain. Hearing this, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows, crossed his hands behind his back, and smiled indifferently. The 3rd floor's Forbidden Space illusion and the 4th floor's Ice and Snow illusion. After this young master breaks them, the disciples who come to challenge the tower will no longer be in danger. So this young master has done a good deed, huh? Kid, you really have the same demeanor as Cat Lord in the past. Cat Lord likes it. Cat Lord grinned. Whoosh. Suddenly, 2 figures that looked exactly like Wang Kai appeared in front of him. One of them was holding the Netherworld sword, and the other was holding the Black Dragon blade. They attacked from the left and right. CK. It seems like the Cat King is really an idiot. Is this young master's ability something that can be measured by numbers? Wang Kai laughed disdainfully when he saw this. He then stepped into the air. Empty step, do you know how to do it? You're just an empty shell. The 2 fake Wang Kai stood on the ground and stared at Wang Kai in a cold manner. They did not move again, instead waiting like they were waiting for a rabbit to appear. Kid, it seems like Cat King has taken notice of you. Still, your performance is not bad. If you were to lose control of your state of mind like you did on the previous floors, and the 2 of them attacked you, you would have been killed. Cat King stroked his long whiskers and laughed. Wang Kai shrugged when he heard this, and he didn't deny it. Indeed, his state of mind hadn't stabilized in the first few levels. If 2 large figures suddenly appeared at that time and attacked him from both sides, then he might really have suffered a setback. The reason why he was able to maintain a calm state of mind was because he had nothing to worry about. As long as he wanted to break the illusion, all he needed to do was to spend 1 bragging point. Since that was the case, how could his state of mind be disturbed? Solar Fist. Wang Kai clasped his hands together and formed a hollow shape. when an extremely dazzling light flashed, and he was about to attack the two figures, he discovered that the two figures had actually turned their backs on him and were rapidly running away into the distance. They were not affected by the solar fist at all. At the same time, they widened the distance between them and Wang Kai. They had perfectly defended against the fatal attack. It seems like Cat Lord has already thought of a way to deal with your martial arts. Cat Lord squinted his eyes and laughed. He was curious to know what Wang Kai was going to do next. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and walked in the air with his hands behind his back. He smiled and said, "You managed to restrain the solar fist? Ben Shao, how could you only have so few tricks up your sleeve?" Afterimage fist. Swoosh. Suddenly, Wang Kai's body split into four. They looked exactly the same as his real body. It was as if he had used an illusion to create his body. Cat Lord's eyes bulged when he saw this. "Kid, do you know illusions as well?" Cat Lord exclaimed. Chapter 55. It's just an illusion. It's just Ben Shao's childhood toy. Wang Kai sneered disdainfully. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. He was definitely bragging again. Lord Cat's expression was full of disdain. He hated himself for giving him another chance to brag. He raised his paws and pulled out the 2 long swords on his back. He squinted his eyes and looked around. Suddenly, he fixed his gaze and sneered. "Boy, don't be in a hurry to destroy the 2 figures. Wait for Lord Cat to find them." Swoosh! Lord Cat's body turned into a white light and appeared in front of a large rock 1,000 meters away. He waved his long swords and swept them across the top of the rock. Clink! Clink! Immediately, a transparent cat and a purple cat appeared. They held their swords in front of them and blocked Lord Cat's attack. "Boy, destroy them." Lord Cat suddenly shouted. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard Lord Cat's words. He took in the scene just now and became more certain of his guess. Only by forcing the watchers to reveal themselves and then destroying the 2 illusory figures would the 2 watchers be distracted for a short period of time. When they couldn't resist, Lord Cat could easily swallow them. As for why the watcher would lose all ability to resist after the form it had transformed into was destroyed, Wang Kai still couldn't figure it out. Bang! Bang! 2 of Wang Kai's afterimages forced the 2 figures to take a few steps back. At the same time, Wang Kai quickly approached them with another afterimage. They formed a square and surrounded the 2 figures. Solar punch. Wang Kai and the 3 afterimages spoke in unison. They clasped their hands together and formed a hollow shape, facing the 2 illusory figures. Before the dazzling light appeared, the 2 illusory figures closed their eyes. As long as they close their eyes, does it matter if they get hit or not? Wang Kai curled his lips in disdain. He suddenly gave up on using the solar punch. Instead, he gathered green battle chi in his 2 palms and chopped down. Dragon subduing 10 palms. Slap! Slap! In the blink of an eye, the 2 figures were completely destroyed. Lord Cat has enjoyed it. Old Cat bared his fangs and smiled. His 2 long swords suddenly swept out and accurately chopped the 2 big cats into 2 balls of light. Then, he opened his mouth and swallowed them all. 6th grade Demon General. Whoosh! Looks like the fake Cat King is completely enraged. Lord Cat stroked his long whiskers and sheathed his 2 swords. He then turned into a silver-white light and disappeared into the sky. 7th level, Infinite Yuan Qi. In an endless space with nothing in sight, there was an extremely large amount of Yuan Qi of heaven and earth. The density of a Yuan Qi was enough to drive countless warriors crazy. What happened just now? Why did all the fighting figures disappear? And we seem to have arrived at the 7th level. It's filled with infinite Yuan Qi. This is the infinite Yuan Qi space. Our opportunity to break through has arrived. That's right. Everyone, first disturb your state of mind and accept the Yuan Qi here. Take this opportunity to break through. Remember, don't be greedy. Otherwise, your body won't be able to take it and explode. The dozens of disciples who appeared on the 7th level with Wang Kai all exclaimed in joy. Although they didn't know what had happened, they were naturally happy to be able to pass the level and successfully ascend to the 7th level. Wang Kai heard their exclamations and couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. He stood in the distance and looked at them curiously. Absorb the Yuan Qi here? Would the Tong Tian Tower be so kind? Wang Kai felt that it was strange. Bang! Bang bang! Nearly 20 disciples' auras rose and instantly broke through their original realm. They went from 6th grade Marshal General to 7th grade Marshal General. There were even some who broke through from 7th grade Marshal General to 8th grade Marshal General. Just one more step, and I can break through to 9th grade Marshal General. A young man sat cross-legged on the ground. His body suddenly expanded and shrunk. His face was green and red as he continuously devoured the Yuan Qi. Crack! Rumble! Suddenly, a loud sound rang out. Under Wang Kai's gaze, the disciple expanded to 7 or 8 meters. However, he didn't shrink like before. Instead, he directly exploded, covering the ground with his flesh and bones. At the same time, the dozens of disciples who were affected by the loud sound were unable to calm their state of mind. The Yuan Qi that was being devoured was continuously injected into their bodies, causing them to explode one by one, turning into minced meat and bones. Of the dozens of disciples who had successfully reached the 7th floor, there were now less than 10 people left. Fuck, isn't this too ruthless? Wang Kai grinned. He felt that his throat was a little dry. He couldn't help but secretly rejoice that he wasn't greedy. Otherwise, he might have really died here like them. You're in danger. Take a look at the realms of the surviving disciples. Cat Lord appeared beside Wang Kai. He stroked his long beard and smiled with squinted eyes. Hearing this, Wang Kai lowered his head and glanced at Cat Lord in confusion. Then, he turned to look at the 7 or 8 surviving disciples. Because they had just broken through, their Yuan Qi was rising chaotically. He could clearly see their realms. 6 7th grade Marshal Generals and 2 8th grade Marshal Generals. What's wrong? Do you think they can kill me? Wang Kai shrugged and said with a smile. Cat Lord grinned and pointed upwards. He smiled and said, That's hard to say. The guy's already so angry that he's stomping his feet up there. Disciples of the 7th floor, listen up. Whoever kills this person will be able to directly enter the 9th floor and obtain the reward. Whoosh! Following an illusory voice, a figure that looked exactly like Wang Kai appeared in midair. Directly enter the 9th floor? Hearing this, the 8 disciples raised their heads and looked up. Their hearts were filled with indescribable joy. Entering the Tong Tian Tower was a narrow escape. Now that they had successfully broken through, they were both happy and worried. After all, there was still the 8th floor. If they were unlucky and died, everything would be for naught. But now, they actually had the opportunity to directly enter the 9th floor and even obtain the reward. With such an opportunity, no one would be unwilling. He's over there. A young man swept his gaze over and raised his arm to point at Wang Kai in the distance. Chapter 56. Do you understand now? The guard just now was already swallowed by Cat Lord. Logically speaking, if they didn't have Cat Lord bringing them, they would never be able to enter the 7th floor. Being trapped on the 6th floor would be their final ending, but they still came to the 7th floor. Cat Lord stroked his long beard and smiled. Hearing that, Wang Kai nonchalantly shrugged his shoulders. With his hands behind his back, he indifferently smiled and said, Even if they came, so what? They're just fish and turtles. Bin Xiao only needs one gaze to easily destroy them. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. Received 1,000 experience, bragging value 1 point. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 8th rank Marshal General realm. Right? It was that simple. Hearing the notification of breaking through, Wang Kai's smile became even more brilliant. As the saying goes, the difference of 1 rank is like heaven and earth. But now, He was no longer a 7th rank martial general, but an 8th rank martial general. There is simply no need to fear the 2 disciples who were also 8th rank martial generals. Shameless boasting. Whoosh! The 8 disciples all flashed over and surrounded Wang Kai and Cat Lord in the middle. Humph! Coming to Tong Tian Tower, you actually dare to bring a demon pet. Looks like your luck is quite good. However, this 7th floor will be your end, a young man disdainfully said. That demon pet is quite chubby and cute. Senior brothers, which one of you will snatch it for me? A female disciple, with a pretty good appearance, smiled charmingly. Blinking her eyes, she stared at Cat Lord with fondness. He's dead for sure. A mere cat-type demon pet. Since Junior Sister likes it, then I'll give it to Junior Sister. Several people grinned. Their expressions were indescribable. Their gazes flickered, but they stood where they were and didn't move in the slightest. Bastard! You actually dared to say that Cat Lord is a demon pet? Cat Lord sneered. Half squinting his eyes, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Hearing that, the 8 disciples were all stunned. They looked at Cat Lord in disbelief. They never would have thought that he could actually speak human language. A demon pet of the demon general realm? Junior Sister, this demon pet is extremely precious. If you don't make a move, Senior Brother will take away what you love. Senior Brother, what are you saying? If Senior Brother likes it, just take it. The 8 young disciples joked with each other. In the end, none of them made a move. However, they were also on guard against Cat Lord. Wang Kai couldn't help but shake his head and laugh when he saw this. He waved his hand impatiently and sneered. Haha, it's just that you can't see through Ben Xiao's realm. You actually want to use words to hint to each other and let someone take the lead to test Ben Xiao's strength. Actually, you don't have to do this. Ben Xiao is in a good mood and kindly reminded you. Come at me together. If you come one by one, you'll die a horrible death. You're right. I'm in a good mood, so I won't argue with you kids. Cat Lord stroked his long whiskers as his body suddenly disappeared from a spot. Such a scene immediately caused the expressions of the few people present to turn pale. Wang Kai was right. The 8 disciples couldn't see through his realm, and similarly, they couldn't see through Cat Lord's realm. However, Cat Lord could actually speak human language. Absolutely, only a general realm demonic beast could do that. Only warriors in the general realm could enter Tong Tian Tower. The reason why they were so cautious and didn't dare make a move was because they couldn't figure out what realm Wang Kai and Cat Lord were at. Let's make a move together and end this quickly. Suddenly, a young man snorted coldly. The battle chi of an 8th grade martial general penetrated out forcefully. Under his lead, another 8th grade martial general disciple also operated battle chi to cover his body. Together with the other 6 7th grade martial general disciples, the power was quite terrifying when they released their battle chi together. Well, we really need to end this quickly. Air step. Papa. Hearing this, Wang Kai nodded and smiled. With a tap of his feet, his figure rose high into the sky. With his hands behind his back, he looked down at them with a playful expression. He wanted to know what else they could do. He can actually step on air. How is this possible? Is he in a martial arts grandmaster realm? He definitely can't be a martial arts grandmaster expert. Don't forget that Senior Brother Beidang is a martial arts grandmaster expert. However, when he entered Tong Tian Tower this time, he still suppressed his realm to that of a 9th grade martial general. Don't talk nonsense. Since he can step on air, it must be an exquisite martial skill. We just need to release our battle chi to attack. That's right. Kill. Buzz. Immediately, under the lead of 2 8th grade martial general disciples, the 8 of them operated their battle chi and condensed into sharp blades. With a wave of their hands, they threw the blades. The green blades moved at a strange speed and continuously shot toward Wang Kai in the air. Since you wanted to kill me first, Ben Xiao doesn't need to hold back. Wang Kai smiled faintly. With a tap of his feet, his figure flashed and dodged all the sharp blade attacks with ease. Solar Fist. Buzz. An extremely dazzling light shone in the air. The 8 disciples immediately closed their eyes. At this moment, Wang Kai's figure suddenly appeared in front of them. Too weak, too boring. 10 dragon-subduing palms. Bang, bang. A series of muffled sounds rang out incessantly. The 8 disciples were sent flying while vomiting blood. Their bodies flew for hundreds of meters before fiercely landing on the ground. They were astonishingly lifeless. Their chests had been pierced through by the palms and exploded. Their flesh and blood were tumbling, and their bones were clearly visible. Congratulations to the host for successfully killing the target. You have received 8,000 experience points. Hearing the notification, Wang Kai was delighted. He excitedly landed on the ground and couldn't help but clench his fists. He grinned and praised. If I use my full strength with the 10 dragon-subduing palms, no one of the same level or rank will be able to survive. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. How can this be considered bragging? What happened just now was clearly a very good example. Kid, you're only an 8th grade martial general. To be able to kill the enemy in one move, what kind of martial skill do you practice? Cat Lord appeared at the side and asked with a surprised expression. Through Wang Kai's full-strength attack, just now, Cat Lord had already discovered his true level. However, it was also because of this that Cat Lord found it increasingly strange. In the land of Fan Province, for people of the same level and rank, even if the martial skills and weapons of both parties were of a higher level, it was impossible to kill the enemy in one move. The only thing that could allow a martial artist to have such an ability was to practice a powerful martial skill. However, in the land of Fan Province, Cat Lord couldn't figure out where Wang Kai had obtained such a martial skill. The martial skill that I practice is a divine skill from beyond the heavens. It is not something that ordinary people can pry into. Even if they hear its name, they would be shocked to death. Therefore, big stupid cat, it's best that you don't know. Wang Kai lightly smiled with his hands behind his back. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 9th grade martial general realm. Please give me more recommendation votes. This is very important. Many thanks. Chapter 57. Host, Wang Kai Profession, Martial Artist Realm, 9th Grade Martial General Cultivation Technique, Ancient Divine King Technique, Complete Martial Skills, Dragon Subduing 10 Palms, Extreme Yang Fist, Yuan Chi Bullet, Afterimage Fist, Air Step, Cloud Flipping Palm Equipment, Black Dragon Blade, Netherworld Sword Bragging Points, 59 Experience. 0.20000 inch. The experience required to break through to the next realm has actually increased to 20,000. The corner of Wang Kai's mouth fiercely twitched as he used his mind to close it. He couldn't help smacking his lips as he secretly thought to himself, "That's right. Previously, every time I broke through to the next realm, the experience would increase by a lot. But I wonder how much experience would increase in the future realm? But thinking about it, it doesn't matter. Isn't it just bragging a few more times? Bragging means killing people. Grandpa Kai's name is known throughout the world. Killing people to brag. My cultivation speed is number 1. Surrounded by poems and beautiful women, my cultivation technique and martial skills are all extraordinary. With such a powerful weapon in hand, the world will be mine. Haha, good poem, good poem. Wang Kai held his hands behind his back as he shook his head and praised repeatedly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 1,000 experience and 1 bragging point. Bastard brat, stop bragging. Hurry up and defeat the transformed form. Ding dang, ding dang. In the distance, Grandpa Cat was being beaten up by a big green cat. One of his 2 long swords had been sent flying. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. His eyes flashed as he looked over. He rubbed his chin and laughed softly. The big stupid cat swallowed the guards of the 5th and 6th floor, so it should have reached the 6th grade of Demon General. The guard of the 7th floor is a 7th grade demon general. The difference of 1 grade is like heaven and earth, but the big stupid cat hasn't lost. Then, it proved that the cat king of the 9th floor didn't want to kill the big stupid cat. Interesting. Hee hee, I really want to know what that idiot cat king wants to do. Wang Kai smiled faintly. Both of his feet pushed off the ground and rose into the air. He scanned his surroundings, but did not discover any traces of the transformed figure. Lord Cat seemed to be extremely anxious. Many of the fur on his body had fallen off. Seeing that Wang Kai was still in midair, he was so angry that he bared his teeth and shouted, "Kid, aren't you able to break the illusion? Then break the illusion here. Naturally, you'll be able to find the hiding place of the illusions. If Grandpa Cat is taken away before that, even if you reach the 9th level, you'll die a horrible death." Bencheo's power is earth-shattering. It's just a cat king. There's nothing to be afraid of. What's more, the infinite Yuan Qi here is very useful to Ben Shao. Wouldn't it be a waste to break it? Wang Kai said with a faint smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Elemental Energy Bomb. Wang Kai raised his hand high, and a palm-sized green ball of light appeared on his palm. As the surrounding elemental energy rapidly gathered, the palm-sized green ball of light expanded again. It grew from the mouth of the basin to the size of a house, and from the house to the size of a palace. Such a scene immediately caused Lord Cat and the big green cat to widen their eyes. They could not help but stop fighting and stare at Wang Kai in disbelief, especially when they saw the green ball of light condensed on his palm. It was so large that it was impossible to calculate its size. The infinite Yuan Qi on the 7th level was also rapidly decreasing. All of it gathered on Wang Kai's palm and merged with the extremely large ball of light. In less than 100 breaths, the elemental energy was completely depleted. There is spiritual yuan in heaven and earth. Spirit is spiritual energy that is used by spirit path adepts. Elemental energy is the source of power for martial path adepts. I didn't expect this kid to know a martial technique that condenses elemental energy. This really surprised Lord Cat. Lord Cat stroked his long whiskers and laughed softly. Clatter! When all the elemental energy in the space disappeared, Wang Kai gently clenched his hand and turned the extremely large green ball of light into a green marble the size of a glass ball. Such a large amount of elemental energy. If I throw the elemental energy bomb, it will be enough to destroy the entire divine martial mountain. Wang Kai grinned and put the marble into his space ring as if he had found a treasure. Crack! Suddenly, the shape formed by the elemental energy, after losing the support of the elemental energy, automatically shattered and turned into bits of green elemental energy that floated in the air. Wang Kai's figure was once again pulled by a huge force and rapidly rose into the air. Lord Cat is going to enjoy it. Lord Cat held a long saber in his hand and chopped down on the head of the absent-minded big green cat. He directly chopped it into a green ball of light and immediately swallowed it. 7th grade Demon General. 8th floor, Netherworld space. The entire space was filled with gray airflow like a gray fog. Nothing could be seen clearly, and no aura of the disciples in the tower could be felt. There was only the loneliness and despair of death. Once the elemental energy is gone, is it the death chi of the underworld? Wang Kai smiled disdainfully when he saw this. The gray airflow in this space was the same as the death chi on the Netherworld sword. However, the death chi here was just an illusion. As long as one's state of mind was calm, one would not be hurt at all. Boy, quickly use your battle chi to resist the invasion of the death chi of the underworld. The death chi of the underworld is not an illusion. It was swallowed by Lord Cat in the underworld continent. Lord Cat appeared beside Wang Kai and shouted anxiously. Hearing this, Wang Kai's face suddenly changed. He could not help but raise his hand and look at it. He was surprised to find that his skin had begun to turn gray. It was the same on his arm. If there was a mirror here, he could see that his face was also gray with death chi. No, if it is the real death chi of the underworld, once it enters my body, I will definitely die on the spot. Wang Kai said with a frown. Take Beidang Zhantian, for example. When he was hit by Dark North's sword, he died on the spot. There was no way to save him. Bastard boy. That is because Lord Cat is not the original Lord Cat. My strength has regressed, so I can't use the death chi of the underworld to display its original power. Even so, if you don't resist the death chi for a long time and let it invade your body, you will definitely die here. Lord Cat was so angry that he stomped his feet and cursed. Hearing this, Wang Kai looked dignified. No matter whether it was real or not, as long as he took out the black dragon blade, he would know. If it was an illusion, the black dragon blade would not dispel the death chi. If it could dispel the death chi, it would prove that all the death chi of the underworld here was real. Buzz. A pitch-black dagger appeared in Wang Kai's hand. He slightly slashed the air around him. The gray death chi of the underworld quickly retreated as if it was afraid. It is really the death chi of the underworld. Seeing this, Wang Kai's heart pounded violently. He quickly used his battle chi to cover his body. At the same time, he used the black dragon blade to dispel the death chi of the underworld so that it would not dare to come close to him. You already have the death chi of the underworld in your body. If you don't get rid of it, I'm afraid it will be difficult for you to make a breakthrough in your cultivation in the future. Lord Cat shook his head and sighed. Chapter 58. Hee. That's not necessarily true. Ben Xiao has been proficient in all kinds of martial arts since he was young. He can even conjure illusions at his fingertips. Of course, his medical skills are nothing to scoff at. Wang Kai laughed proudly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. The reward is 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Hearing this, Cat Lord's mouth twitched violently. His heart was filled with disdain. He stroked his long whiskers and grinned. Kid, now is not the time to brag. Although the death energy here is not as strong as before, it is still real. If you want to expel it from your body, you must be a martial ancestor. However, you don't have to worry. As long as you help Cat Lord defeat the Cat King, Cat Lord will naturally have a way to expel the death energy from the underworld. How many bragging points do I need to expel the death energy from the underworld? Host, the death energy in your body is extremely weak. You only need to use 1 bragging point to expel it. It's just a little. Hearing this, Wang Kai's expression became even more indifferent. He patted his chest and laughed softly. Big dumb cat, it seems like you still don't understand Ben Xiao's awesomeness. Since that's the case, I'll show you what it means to be an expert in medicine. This death energy from the underworld only needs 1 pat to expel. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. The reward is 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Expel the death energy from the underworld. Congratulations to the host for successfully expelling the death energy from the underworld. 1 bragging point has been consumed. Cat Lord's face was filled with disdain. However, when he saw that Wang Kai's complexion had returned to normal, his eyes widened in shock. He couldn't help but stretch out his paw and lift up his sleeve. He was shocked to find that the death energy on his arm had long disappeared. This kid, what kind of weirdo is he? Cat Lord was secretly shocked. His pupils shrank to vertical slits. He stroked his whiskers fiercely. Even though he had wandered outside Fan Province for many years, he had never seen such an invulnerable young man. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders with an indifferent expression. He held the black dragon blade in his hand and gently slashed at the underworld's deathly aura. Looking at the deathly aura that seemed to have a mind of its own, he could not help but shake his head and sigh regretfully. AI, what a pity. Such a vigorous underworld's deathly aura. How good would it be if it could be turned into a primordial energy bomb? Brat, you'd better not be complacent. After what happened on the first few floors, Cat Lord has already figured out your background. I'm afraid that the form you transformed into has already been hidden by the Watchers. If you can't defeat the form you transformed into, you won't be able to ascend to the next floor. Furthermore, how long can you resist the death chi of the underworld with your battle chi? Cat Lord said as he stroked his long whiskers. You could directly bring Ben Shao to the 9th floor. In this way, wouldn't everything be over? Wang Kai curled his lips and said with a smile. Cat Lord stroked his long whiskers and shook his head helplessly. He said indifferently, Cat Lord can freely enter and exit the 9th floor. However, I'm sorry, Cat Lord can't do that for the time being. Wang Kai frowned. Even though the Black Dragon Blade could resist the deathly aura of the underworld, if he was not covered by his battle chi, the deathly aura of the underworld would invade his body again in this space filled with deathly aura of the underworld. If this continued, he would be the one at a disadvantage. Do those illusionary figures always appear on every level? If Cat Lord doesn't want me to defeat the form and enter the next floor, why don't you just order the Watchers not to transform into my form? Furthermore, Cat Lord can also come down and kill me on his own accord. Are you hiding something from me? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and said with a smile. Every time the Watcher defeated an illusion, the Watcher would fall into a momentary daze. It was precisely because of this that Lord Cat was able to easily swallow the Watcher despite being one stage weaker. What was that momentary daze all about? Cat Lord was startled. He stroked his long whiskers and his eyes flashed rapidly. After a long while, he nodded and sighed. There's no harm in telling you. Those Watchers are the power that Cat Lord created to suppress the original spirit of the Tong Tian Tower. The form that appears on every floor is to kill the people who enter the tower and use the blood of the challengers to wear down the spirit of the Tong Tian Tower. That way, Cat Lord can completely control the Tong Tian Tower. Oh, so according to what you said, the form on every floor will inevitably appear? Even if you are suppressed to the first floor by your own power doppelganger, the means that you set up will still be effective, right? Wang Kai said with a playful smile. Although Cat Lord did not say it clearly, it could be guessed from his current situation that he must have been suppressed by his own power doppelganger. Otherwise, he would not be guarding the first floor and be called a fake by his own power doppelganger. That's right. That's it. Cat Lord was deceived and framed by his most trusted aide. That's why I was suppressed by his doppelganger, while I was suppressing the spirit of the Tong Tian Tower. The so-called Cat Lord was the original Watcher of the 8th floor. Now, he is in charge of suppressing the spirit of the 9th floor. If he leaves the 9th floor, the spirit of the Tong Tian Tower will definitely wake up. At that time, the Tong Tian Tower will fly back to its original owner. Cat Lord said through gritted teeth. After all this time, even the Tong Tian Tower was stolen by him. Wang Kai exhaled softly, looking at him with a disdainful expression. He said disdainfully, then it seems that the moment the form of each level is defeated, the Watcher will be momentarily dazed. Such a thing is also a backup plan you set up yourself, right? In that case, you knew that someone would frame you and set up a backup plan. In the end, you still ended up like this. TSK, TSK. Oomph. If Cat Lord had not been severely injured twice by strong practitioners, who would be able to compete with Cat Lord in the mere land of Fan Province? Cat Lord snorted disdainfully. Wang Kai glanced at him from the corner of his eyes. He could not be bothered with him anymore. As for whether what he said was true or false, he would be able to tell once he reached the 9th floor. Perhaps it was because of this that he said it. Now, we just need to find the form that was conjured. Speaking of which, it's strange. You should have wanted to seize the opportunity to take back the Tong Tian Tower more than once, right? Unfortunately, you have failed every time. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and said with a gloating smile. Cat Lord bared his fangs and glared at Wang Kai. He sneered disdainfully. You can only blame the practitioners in Fan Province for being too weak. Out of the few little dolls that caught Cat Lord's eye, the highest was only able to reach the 7th floor. However, you are rather special. Even though Cat Lord's strength has been damaged, causing the power of the illusions that I set up to weaken, I can still conjure up everything about a martial ancestor realm practitioner. However, I cannot conjure up your martial arts and martial skills. Of course. Who is Ben Shao? He is an omnipotent heaven's pride. No matter where he goes, beauties will turn their heads, and handsome men will jump off buildings. Wang Kai proudly said with a smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully boasting. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Who is it? Who is speaking? Suddenly, an extremely weak voice sounded out, causing Wang Kai and Cat Lord to be stunned. Swish! Wang Kai gripped the black dragon blade in his hand and quickly ran towards the source of the voice. Wherever he passed, the underworld death chi would be repelled by the black dragon blade. It's actually you. Wang Kai stopped his tracks and looked at the young man sitting cross-legged on the ground in front of him. He could not help but smack his lips playfully. Who would have thought that the little rock king Peng Nine, who was highly regarded by the Nangong family elder after entering the Shinwu Academy, would actually appear on the 8th floor of the Tong Tian Tower? Chapter 59. Wang Kai. I didn't think that you would also come to Tong Tian Tower and reach the 8th floor. Little Peng King smiled weakly, his eyes filled with self-mockery. He was a dignified 9th-grade martial general, standing shoulder to shoulder with the divine martial dynasty's crown prince. This time, on the 7th floor of Tong Tian Tower, he had obtained an unlimited amount of Yuan Qi and broke through to the martial ancestor realm. The only thing lacking was that he had yet to start cultivating. Originally, he wanted to pass through all 9 floors of Tong Tian Tower in one go. Who would have thought that he would be stuck on the 8th floor, unable to move forward? Furthermore, Wang Kai, who was only a martial master, had also reached the 8th floor. Even if Wang Kai had broken through to the martial general realm, it was impossible for him to reach the 9th-grade martial general realm. Since his realm was inferior to his own, and he could reach the 8th floor, what was there to be proud of? Haha, Bin Shao is the rising star of Fan Province. A mere Tong Tian Tower is like an uninhabited land. He can overturn it with a single hand. Wang Kai said with an indifferent smile. However, he was somewhat surprised in his heart. He didn't think that the little Peng King would actually be a 9th-grade martial general. Although his battle chi was so weak that it was almost inaudible, it was still easy to detect his cultivation at the same level. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience and 1 bragging point. Little Peng King smiled weakly when he heard this. He looked at the underworld's deathly aura and shook his head in self-mockery. This time, after entering Tong Tian Tower, not only was I surpassed by your fiancée, Miss Liu, in the end, you also caught up to me. I really can't think of a reason. Nonsense. Are you saying that Bin Shao is inferior to you? Being surpassed by Bin Shao, are you not convinced? Wang Kai stared at him with a dark expression. If it wasn't for the fact that little Peng King was tactful when he was in White Jade Tower, he would have definitely taught him a lesson for what he said just now. Liu Yao also came? She's on the 9th floor? Little Peng King and Cat Lord were speechless. They didn't think that in Wang Kai's heart, face was more important than his fiancée. Only now did he react. However, when they thought about his personality, they understood. That little girl is very powerful. Is there a need for Bin Shao to worry? I'm counting on her to worry about me. Upon seeing this, Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and snorted in an unconcerned manner. No wonder he had not seen Liu Yao after the battle ceremony. It turned out that she had come to challenge the Tong Tian Tower. The little rock king gently nodded and said weakly, "Yes, she is already on the 9th floor. Just now I was fighting with the illusory form." Originally, after another 100 moves, I would have been able to defeat the illusory form and ascend to the next floor. At that time, even if I was slower than Miss Liu, the difference wouldn't be too great. However, for some reason, the illusory form suddenly disappeared. After a great battle, I exhausted too much of my battle chi. As soon as these words came out, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and the corner of his mouth twitched fiercely. He thought to himself, "Damn, it can't be because of me, right? If this guy finds out, he'll probably fight me to the death." Cough, cough. Speaking of which, it's strange. I've been on the 8th floor for half a day, but I haven't seen my illusory form. What's going on? Wang Kai awkwardly touched his nose and spoke with an unnatural expression. The cat elder stroked his long whiskers and looked at him with disdain. He thought to himself, he can't even lie without blushing. This kid is too inexperienced. Big stupid cat, what are you looking at? Hurry up and find the guardian. Wang Kai glared at him fiercely. The cat elder snorted in disdain. He stroked his whiskers and said, so what if we find it? If we can't break the death aura of the underworld, we won't be able to find the illusory form. If we can't defeat the illusory form, even if we swallow the guardian, we won't be able to ascend to the next floor. How many bragging points do I need to break the death aura of the underworld? Su Xie asked with a frown. Host, the death aura of the underworld is too strong. With the host's current martial arts level, if you want to break it, you will need to spend 100 bragging points. F***CK. So much. Wang Kai's face darkened when he heard the notification. Black lines appeared on his forehead. His bragging points were only around 60. It was still far from 100. He couldn't help but smack his lips. He lowered his head to look at the cat elder and said, besides breaking the death aura of the underworld, is there any other way? Of course there is. But are you willing to part with it? The cat elder squinted his eyes and smiled. His expression was full of evil intentions. Hee, money is just a worldly possession. I can throw it away. Tell me, how many silver notes do you want? Wang Kai said with a faint smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. The cat elder's eyes widened. He never would have thought that in Wang Kai's mind, the only thing he was willing to part with was silver notes. Cough, cough. You are too special. The cat elder is not talking about silver notes. I am talking about the netherworld sword made from netherworld cold iron. The cat elder stroked his whiskers and said, whoosh. Wang Kai was stunned when he heard this. He couldn't help but take out the netherworld sword. He shook it in his hand and said with a puzzled face, the netherworld sword can break the death aura of the underworld here. Big stupid cat, are you trying to trick me? They were both death aura of the underworld. How could they restrain each other? Shouldn't they complement each other? Humph, ignorant boy. The netherworld cold iron can swallow the death aura of the underworld. However, the cat elder is not sure about the grade of the netherworld cold iron. It is very likely that it will break because it can't withstand the death aura of the underworld here. Of course, if the netherworld cold iron's grade is high enough, it can also use the death aura of the underworld here to upgrade the netherworld sword's grade. There are pros and cons, boy. Have you thought about it? Chi. Wang Kai's face was full of disdain when he heard this. He casually shrugged his shoulders and threw the netherworld sword over as if he was throwing trash. He sneered and said, this sword is just a high-grade weapon. Ben Shao is the reincarnation of the god of war. Naturally, his sword must be a divine weapon. This kind of low-grade scrap metal, you can use it. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Hearing this, Wang Kai grinned with satisfaction. He nodded and said with a faint smile, however, if I can successfully upgrade the grade of the weapon, it is not too much to temporarily use it as Ben Shao's toy. You can start now. Sure enough, Cat Elder and Little Rock King rolled their eyes. From the beginning to the end, they didn't believe that Wang Kai would be so generous. He was just using this opportunity to brag. The netherworld cold iron is born from the death aura of the underworld. As long as it is placed here, it will automatically swallow the death aura of the underworld. I just don't know if it can swallow it all. Cat Elder stroked his long beard and smiled. He then stabbed the netherworld sword into the ground. Buzz. Sure enough, the surrounding death aura of the underworld was constantly gathering toward the netherworld sword. It turned into a gray airflow and merged into the netherworld sword. Chapter 60. Brat, put away the black dragon blade and take that half-monster away from the netherworld sword. Cat Lord stroked his beard as his body flashed. After a few jumps, he was already 100 meters away. Wang Kai nodded when he heard this. He put the black dragon blade into his space ring and covered his body with battle chi. He grabbed the Little Rock King and quickly retreated. The Little Rock King had just fought a big battle, and his battle chi was exhausted. He could barely resist the death chi of the underworld. The Netherworld sword was currently absorbing the death chi of the underworld. If they were too close, the Little Rock King would not be able to resist. The Black Dragon Blade could expel the death chi of the underworld, so it would slow down the Netherworld sword's absorption speed. This really surprised Catlord. This sword should belong to the Beidang family, right? Catlord narrowed his eyes as he stared at the Netherworld sword that was wildly absorbing the death chi. He looked very surprised. Wang Kai shrugged when he heard this and couldn't help clasping his hands behind his back as he said with a faint smile, "That's right. Just a few days ago, the Beitang family's group of pretentious fools dared to provoke this young master, but they didn't expect this young master's martial arts to be peerless. With just a spit, I easily defeated their entire family. In order to appease this young master's anger, they took the initiative to deliver this Netherworld sword to resolve the grudge between us. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point." Catlord rolled his eyes. He naturally knew that he was bragging, so he ignored it. He stroked his beard and said with a smile, "Catlord went to the underworld continent to absorb the death chi. I wanted to use it to suppress the weapon spirit, but the death chi was too fierce. Catlord was heavily injured at the time, so I did not dare to touch it. So I brought the Beidang family with me. I never thought that they would have such a high-grade Netherworld cold iron. If I knew about this earlier, I would have stolen it from them." Underworld continent. The Beidang family actually came from the Underworld continent, and they were kidnapped by Catlord. Wang Kai could not help but smack his lips as he looked at Catlord with a stunned expression. It would be good if this was true, but if it was false, it only proved that Catlord was too good at bragging. He had bragged about things that had never been heard of before, just like Master Ji-chun. Whoosh! Suddenly, an illusory figure appeared beside the Netherworld sword. It stretched out its hand and picked up the Netherworld sword. The surrounding Netherworld death chi was also swallowed up by the Netherworld sword. Little Rock King's illusory form? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes as he watched the figure holding the Netherworld sword attack him. He couldn't help rubbing his nose as a playful look flashed in his eyes. He didn't even need to think to know what the 8th floor's guardian meant. Wang Kai shrugged casually. He stepped into the air and asked Lord Cat with a smile, "Can I ascend to the next level if I defeat the illusions of others?" "Of course you can. The guardian can order anyone's illusory form to attack. Once the target is chosen, if the target is defeated, the target will be able to ascend to the next level. As for your illusory form, it can only be used to attack the remaining disciples of the 8th floor." Catlord stroked his long beard and smiled. Wang Kai nodded gently when he heard this. Since there was a way to ascend to the 9th floor, it was a good thing. He couldn't help but grin and say, "You can't use Ben Shao's martial skills, so you want to use Little Rock King's illusory form to attack me. However, your calculations are wrong. There is no one in this world who can stand shoulder to shoulder with Ben Shao." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Young Master Kai, although I am disdainful of what you said, please be careful. My illusory form can also step into the air. Little Rock King gritted his teeth and said with an unwilling look in his eyes, "It can also step into the air?" Wang Kai was stunned. He stared at the illusory form below and saw that it was actually lying on the ground. In the blink of an eye, it had turned into a golden-winged rock. It spread its golden wings, which were hundreds of meters long. It flapped its wings and ascended into the sky. Its speed was extremely fast, and it disappeared in the blink of an eye. Damn it. If you didn't mention it, Ben Shao would have forgotten. Your father is a rock and your mother is a human. No wonder you can transform into a human at the general stage. It turns out that a half-demon can not only transform into a human, but also into a demonic rock. Wang Kai's face darkened as he cursed. Even if he had the air step martial skill, he could not compare to a demonic beast that was born with the ability to fly. Moreover, it was a golden-winged rock. Golden feather, triple transformation. The golden-winged rock spoke in human language and instantly appeared above Wang Kai's head. Its two golden wings turned into two long spears surrounded by golden flames and pierced towards Wang Kai's head. Transform your uncle. Cloud-flipping palm. Wang Kai was shocked and hurriedly turned around. With a tap of his feet, he took a few steps back and narrowly avoided the attack of the golden long spear. Then, he quickly gathered the green battle chi in his palms and suddenly slapped upwards. Golden feather, triple transformation. Buzz! The golden-winged rock let out a loud cry, and its golden wings changed again, turning into a round shield that was burning with golden flames. On the shield, there was a drawing of a majestic rock. With three loud bangs, the shield was shattered by the green palm print. However, the golden-winged rock was not injured at all. Golden feather, triple transformation. Hearing this, Wang Kai's face turned as black as charcoal. The cloud-flipping palm could only break the shield, but could not hurt the rock. How strong was the rock's defense? Dime! The golden-winged rock spread its wings in the air, and countless flaming feathers shot down from the sky like sharp blades. They were densely packed and looked like a meteor shower. 10 dragons subduing slaps. Cloud-flipping palm. Wang Kai's expression was grave. He clenched his teeth and stepped into the air to dodge. His palms gathered battle chi and continuously slapped out. In an instant, the green palm print and the flaming golden feathers collided in the air. Battle chi swirled in the air and embellished with flames, illuminating the gray netherworld. F***, you little rock king. What's your weakness? Hurry up and tell me. Wang Kai cursed with a black face. Under such a collision, he could only be evenly matched with the golden-winged rock. It would be impossible to determine the winner in a short time. The little rock king's weak expression was filled with pride. Hearing this, he snorted and said proudly, "I have no weakness." Rumble, rumble. Wang Kai immediately grimaced in anger when he heard this. The clothes on his body had been torn and tattered by the fire feathers. Fortunately, he had managed to narrowly dodge them, only brushing past his skin. Otherwise, the countless fire feathers would have pierced him full of holes. Golden feather, triple transformation. F***, your grandmother. You can actually transform? Isn't it a triple transformation? When Wang Kai heard this, he immediately retreated with a black face. He could only put some distance between them. Otherwise, it would be impossible to dodge all the flaming feathers at such a close distance. It's the same move as before. However, he wants to use his speed to close in on you and use the flaming feathers at close range to take your life. Quickly retreat. Don't stop. The little rock king suddenly reminded anxiously. Close range? Why, fear will happen. Chapter 61. Afterimage Fist. Swoosh. For figures split from Wang Kai's body and rushed in 4 different directions, causing the little rock king's illusory form to appear. He flapped his wings and floated in the air, staring coldly at the 4 figures. There are a total of 4 afterimage fists, including the real body. 3 of the illusions do not have any offensive power and will dissipate upon contact. It is only a matter of time before they are destroyed one by one. I can only rely on the afterimage fist to avoid the golden-winged rock's pursuit. Wang Kai thought to himself. He had to admit that this was the first time he had met an opponent he could fight. The golden-winged rock had the ability to fly in the air, but he could only rely on martial arts techniques. In addition, the little rock king's martial arts realm was already a 9th-grade martial general, so his flying speed definitely exceeded the limits of the general realm. Only his own realm martial arts technique could surpass him. It's just an illusion. The illusory form snorted disdainfully. 2 golden wings suddenly spread out, and his body began to spin rapidly in the air. As he spun at high speed, dense flaming feathers shot out in all directions. Bang! 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 The three illusions were instantly shattered and dissipated by the flaming feather strike. Wang Kai almost cursed out loud when he saw this. He really did not expect that his opponent could use such a move. There was no need to chase after him one by one. Cloud flipping palm. Bang! Rumble! Wang Kai turned around and slapped out with his palm, scattering all the flaming feathers that were attacking him. Golden flames and cyan battle chi appeared in the air and sprinkled down. When he looked up, he realized that the golden-winged rock's illusory form had disappeared. Battle chi cover. Wang Kai shouted hurriedly. Under the rapid circulation of his battle chi, cyan battle chi condensed on the surface of his body, forming a seamless protective barrier. Die! Whoosh! The golden-winged rock suddenly appeared above Wang Kai's head. Two golden wings suddenly came together, as if it was guarding against something. It completely covered its head and body. In a flash of golden light, Huiyu immediately shot out. In its claws, it held the netherworld sword that had turned into a gray blade. The tip of the sword was pointed at Wang Kai's heart. Damn it! The Afterimage Fist and Solar Fist have already been used. Looks like that idiot Cat King has already thought of a way to deal with them. Upon seeing this, Wang Kai cursed loudly. He saw that the illusory figure had used its golden wings to cover its head. Even if he used the Solar Fist, he would not be able to cause any damage to it. Solar Fist and Afterimage Fist were support-type battle techniques, and they didn't possess any offensive capabilities. Once the other party saw through them, it would be extremely difficult for him to succeed again. Let's see if your battle chi is more vigorous or if my battle chi is more powerful. Wang Kai's eyes turned ruthless. His body suddenly stood upside down. With one hand supporting the ground, he narrowly dodged the netherworld sword's stab. Immediately after, his leg was covered in battle chi as he kicked the illusory figure upside down. Bang! Under this attack, the illusory figure's body flew out diagonally. It was as if it was skipping on water, bouncing and falling on the ground. Those Huiyu that shot out penetrated the ground, leaving countless dense black holes. It flew out for a few hundred meters before coming to a stop. Bincheo's upside-down golden hook is pretty good, right? Even a martial ancestor realm expert would have to lie in bed for dozens of years after taking this move. Wang Kai's feet stepped on the air as he laughed loudly with a proud expression. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 1,000 experience and bragging value of 1 point. Little Rock King, who was listening from afar, rolled his eyes. He did not expect that at this time he could still think of bragging. Half-demon boy, quickly go and defeat Wang Kai's illusory figure. Cat Lord suddenly shouted. He waved his two long sabers and was engaged in a fierce battle with a large gray cat. Little Rock King was stunned. He looked around. When an illusory figure that looked exactly like Wang Kai appeared, he immediately rushed over with battle chi. He grinned and said, "Although I don't have much battle chi left, I want to see how strong your illusory figure is." Golden feathers triple transformation. Whoosh! Little Rock King's body suddenly turned into a golden-winged rock. His two golden wings turned into a long spear surrounded by golden flames. He slashed down at Wang Kai's illusory figure with two spears. Bang! Buzz! However, under Little Rock King's incredulous gaze, Wang Kai's illusory figure did not even have the ability to dodge. In an instant, it was shattered by his own attack. Little Rock King's body was also pulled up into the air by a huge force. Why? Why is it so weak? Little Rock King's mind was full of question marks. Even when he disappeared from the 8th floor, he still could not figure out the reason. 3,000 illusions, Seal. Cat Lord shouted and stuck his two long sabers on both sides of the large gray cat. Immediately, the long sabers turned into two transparent barriers, trapping the large gray cat that was absent-minded due to its shattered body. Boy, try to be faster. Cat Lord can only rely on illusions to trap him for 100 breaths. Cat Lord shouted with his hands on his waist. Wang Kai's mouth twitched when he heard that. He wanted to be faster, But this golden-winged rock was too difficult to deal with. Just the difference in speed was enough to give him a headache. Golden feathers triple transformation. Whoosh! The illusory figure spread its golden wings and turned into a golden light that attacked from the sky. Its speed was extremely fast. Before Wang Kai could react, it had already arrived in front of him. Haha, your weakness. Bin Xiao knows. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. His body did not move. Instead, he waved his palms. Battle Chi gathered and flew, continuously slapping out green palm prints. Bang! Bang bang! The illusory figure was once again forced back. The fire feathers were scattered by the palm prints. You're fast, but if you attack from a distance, your strength will be reduced by half. It's not enough to hurt me. Only by using the advantage of speed and using the method of close-range attacks can you pose a threat to me. But if it's close-range attacks, haha, the strength of my battle chi is not something you can compare to. Wang Kai shrugged and laughed coldly. If she had discovered this earlier, she would not have been forced to flee in all directions. However, even under her passive defense, Huiyu was unable to truly harm her. At most, she would only brush past her skin. If you talk too fast. Golden feathers triple transformation. The illusory figure snorted in disdain. It did not approach Wang Kai to attack again. Instead, it spread its two golden wings a few hundred meters away, shooting out dense fire feathers. Seeing this, Wang Kai's expression was indifferent. With his hands behind his back, he stepped into the air and dodged. Even if the fire feathers hit him, they would be blocked by the battle chi barrier and could not break it. Do you understand now? The distance is too far and the attack power is too low. If you want to defeat Bin Xiao, you'd better get closer. Wang Kai squinted his eyes and smiled. He wanted to take the initiative to close the distance and attack, but he knew that his speed was not as fast as the golden-winged rock. If they fought on the ground, it would be fine. Both of them were 9th-grade martial generals, and their speed was not much different. On the contrary, the density of his battle chi was higher than his opponent's. However, his opponent would definitely choose to fight in the air. It was impossible for him to give up the advantage of flying at high speed. If he really gave up the advantage of being in the air and chose to fight on the ground, then he would not be the golden-winged rock. Chapter 62. Wings. Buzz. The golden-winged rock returned to its human form. However, on its back, two golden wings grew out. Although they were not as large as when it was in its demonic beast form, they were still more than 10 meters long. When the two wings spread out, they could penetrate nearly 30 meters. Even though you have seen through the limitations of the demonic beast form's power, unfortunately, the half-demonic beast form can maintain its current form. Regardless of speed or power, it will be twice as fast as before. The illusory figure snorted coldly. Wang Kai could not help but narrow his eyes. In the human form and with the wings, its speed would not decrease. Instead, it would increase a lot. Moreover, it would be able to fight at close range freely. Its power would be at its peak. Who do you think Bin Xiao is? Bin Xiao has the body of the war god. He has the ability to fight the heavens with his bare hands and step on the moon and the sun with his feet. It's just a double increase in power and speed. Bin Xiao is not afraid of it. Wang Kai chuckled with his hands behind his back. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Boys, stop bragging. More than half of 100 breaths have passed. If you delay any longer, the guardian of this floor will awaken and hide. Even if you defeat the illusory figure, it will appear again and it will be at its peak. Lord Cat gritted his teeth and shouted. He was so angry that he stomped his feet. Damn it, why didn't you say so earlier? Wang Kai's face suddenly darkened. He quickly took out the black dragon blade and held it tightly in his hand. His feet tapped the ground repeatedly, and the battle chi covered his whole body as he rushed towards the figure of the guardian. If the guardian really transformed into the golden-winged rock at its peak again, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens to defeat it. The Netherworld sword has been upgraded with the help of the death chi of the underworld. Although it has not reached the level of the master level, it has surpassed the level of the master level. You want to fight with it with the master level weapon in your hand? You are courting death. The illusory figure sneered disdainfully. He flapped the wings behind him and turned into a golden flame to meet the attack. Clang! Bang! However, when the black dragon blade and the Netherworld sword collided in the air, the illusory figure's face suddenly changed. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He only felt an unstoppable force attacking him, and his body was immediately sent flying backward. Didn't Ben Shao say it already? A mere twofold increase is not enough to stand shoulder to shoulder with Ben Shao. Wang Kai sneered. He tapped his feet repeatedly and followed closely behind with all his strength. The air ripples under his feet suddenly became several times bigger than before, like the mouth of a basin. In the blink of an eye, Wang Kai appeared behind the illusory figure. With a shake of his arm, the black dragon blade pierced down. The illusory figure clenched his teeth and tried to dodge, but he found that he couldn't control his body at all. He was still flying backward. Because of the huge force of the collision just now, he couldn't stop at all. He could only watch as the black dragon blade grew bigger and bigger in his eyes. Finally, it pierced through his forehead. Puff! The illusory figure instantly turned into the underworld's death chi and disappeared without a trace. The Netherworld sword was picked up by Wang Kai in one hand. With a strong pull, his body quickly rose into the sky. What kind of cultivation technique does this kid practice? Even the demonic beast Kuan Peng can't defeat him. Cat Lord stroked his long whiskers and murmured in surprise. He waved his paw to break the isolation barrier and swallowed the dazed gray cat into his stomach. Pata! The two isolation barriers turned into two long knives and automatically inserted into the scabbard on Cat Lord's back. Tong Tian Tower, 9th floor, Yin Yang World. On the other side of the endless darkness, there was a pale white world. However, the dark airflow was continuously spreading towards the pale white world. If this place was Yin Yang disk, then the darkness had already covered most of the pale white world. In the center of the darkness, there was a green palace. Wang Kai was standing in the palace at this moment. Above his head, there was a green ball of light. However, the green ball of light was bound by black chains. The light gradually weakened, as if it could be extinguished at any time. The large palace was empty. There were only dozens of green pillars supporting it. Then, there was the green ball of light. Although the brilliance it emitted was extremely weak, it still illuminated the entire palace. Is this the Tong Tian Tower spirit that the big stupid cat mentioned? Wang Kai looked surprised. He looked up at the green ball of light and carefully sensed it. He could feel the life force in it, but it was extremely weak at this moment. Whoosh! Whoosh! Suddenly, two figures rushed in from outside the palace. One on the left and one on the right. They grabbed at the green ball of light in the sky. My fiancé! Ha! Wang Kai's eyes suddenly lit up when he saw this. He hurriedly shouted intimately. His gaze was already attracted by the graceful figure in white with an otherworldly temperament. When Lu Yao heard this, her delicate body suddenly stiffened. She quickly turned her head to look. When she saw Wang Kai standing in the middle of the palace, her beautiful eyes were filled with disbelief. It was this brief moment of absent-mindedness that allowed the green ball of light to fall into the hands of a young man. Ah, Junior Sister Lu, this thing belongs to Elder Ling Dan. I can't let you take it away. The young man laughed softly. He was wearing a purple robe and had a handsome face. He took a few steps back with the green ball of light in his hand. His face was full of pride. Why are you in Tong Tian Tower? Lu Yao frowned slightly. Her beautiful face was cold. Her beautiful eyes glanced at the green ball of light. When she looked at Wang Kai again, anger flashed in her eyes. Wang Kai shrugged when he heard this. He put his hands behind his back and smiled indifferently. Ah, Ben Xiao's power is monstrous. He can come and go anywhere in the world as he pleases. This 9-story Tong Tian Tower is just a plaything for Ben Shao to play with to pass the time. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience and bragging points. Humph! Where did this ignorant fool come from? How dare you boast shamelessly in front of Palace Master Ben Shao? Why don't you quickly get over here and kowtow to him? Didn't your master teach you what to do when you see Palace Master Ben Shao? The purple-robed man said coldly. OF*CK. Wang Kai's face darkened when he heard this. He narrowed his eyes and stared coldly at him. He sneered and said, Young Palace Master? Who do you think you are? How dare you ask Ben Shao to kowtow to you? Do you still want your face? Puffed. As soon as he said this, Lu Yao covered her face and laughed. Her beautiful eyes looked curiously at Wang Kai. Although she had heard of his deeds in Monarch City, she was surprised to see it with her own eyes. No matter who met him, they would not have any face to speak of. You are Wang Kai from the Marshal's mansion? Humph. Sure enough, you're just like the rumors. Since the crown prince of the sky-suppressing king didn't kill you, it's your misfortune to meet this young palace master. Beitang Wentian sneered as his eyes were filled with killing intent. Wang Kai curled his lips in disdain when he heard this. He put his hands behind his back and said indifferently, Young palace master, you should stop bragging in front of Ben Shao. Are you suitable for this job? Are you on the same level as Ben Shao? Why don't you take a look at yourself? It's not that Ben Shao is looking down on you. With a player like you, as long as Ben Shao farts, you will be sent flying thousands of miles away. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience and bragging points. Chapter 63. You're courting death. Beitang Wentian's face was ashen. He raised his arm and waved it through the air. Green battle chi quickly condensed and transformed into a green palm print that flew out. Whoosh! Lu Yao suddenly moved and appeared in front of Wang Kai. She gently waved her jade-like hand, and a layer of cyan battle chi appeared on her palm. It collided with the cyan palm print that was flying toward her. The two attacks canceled each other out and dissipated into nothingness. He is the son of the palace master of the Shenwu Academy, Beitang Wentian. His martial realm has already reached the martial ancestor realm. Even if the Tong Tian Tower has suppressed him to a 9th grade martial general, he is still not someone that you, who has just stepped into the martial general realm, can deal with. Lu Yao softly said. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows when he heard this. His gaze flickered as he stared at the graceful figure standing in front of him. It was rare that he did not boast. Instead, he spread out his arms and leaned forward, directly hugging her waist. The soft touch in his hands and the fragrance that floated into his nose made him feel as if his mind was about to be drunk. I'm so scared. My dear fiancé, you have to protect me well. Wang Kai affectionately called out. However, his heart was already blooming with joy. It seemed that even if he told her that he had reached the 9th grade martial general realm, she would not believe him. However, thinking about it, there were probably not many people in the entire Fan province who could break through as quickly as him. Lu Yao's delicate body clearly stiffened. She lightly furrowed her brows as she looked at the two large hands that were wrapped around her waist. They were actually still making small movements. Her beautiful face instantly turned cold as she coldly scolded. Lecher! Bang! Wang Kai's face suddenly changed. He only felt a wave of pressure invade him. His body was unable to resist, and he retreated a few steps. He clenched his teeth and fiercely stomped his feet, forcibly stopping his body from retreating. Looking at her otherworldly figure, he could not help but wipe off the cold sweat on his forehead. He thought to himself, just what realm is this little girl in? She can actually force me back with just pressure. Junior sister Lu, step aside quickly. Let Palace Lord Ben Shao send him to heaven. Beitang Wentian narrowed his eyes with an extremely ugly expression. He originally thought that Lu Yao was able to help Wang Kai because she had acknowledged the engagement between the Marshal's residence and the Imperial Advisor's residence. However, when he saw that she had mercilessly forced Wang Kai back, he secretly heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Lu Yao's beautiful eyes flickered when she heard this. She indifferently glanced at the green ball of light and shook her hands behind her back. She coldly said, "Hand over the treasure spirit of the heaven-reaching tower to me, and I won't interfere in your matters anymore." Originally, he wanted to go up and violently beat Beidang Wentian up to show off his majestic figure. However, when he saw Lu Yao gently waving her hand, he had no choice but to restrain his temper. Wang Kai shrugged indifferently. He looked at Beidang Wentian with disdain and said with a disdainful smile, "That is the treasure of Elder Ling Dan. If you dare to privately hand it over, even if you are the young palace lord, I'm afraid your end will be very miserable." Haha, if this implicates the young palace lord and causes you to be punished, this little sister naturally can't bear it. Young palace lord, you don't have to worry. This little sister only wants to borrow the treasure spirit of the heaven-reaching tower to take a look. After this, I will definitely return in time. Lu Yao's eyes flickered as she softly smiled. This little girl is so sinister. Wang Kai secretly gritted his teeth when he saw this. Although he knew that Lu Yao did this on purpose, he couldn't bear to see her smile at another man. He felt a little sick in his heart. However, when he thought about how things had developed to this point, he could only grit his teeth and endure it. He couldn't let all his previous efforts go to waste, right? Beidang Wentian's face was ashen and his eyes were full of struggle and hesitation. This treasure belonged to Elder Ling Dan. The Beidang family was able to control the Shenwu Academy all because of Elder Ling Dan's great support. Even after more than 50 years, the Beidang family had always been extraordinarily respectful to Elder Ling Dan. From this, one could see how important Elder Ling Dan was. If he really handed over this treasure, Elder Ling Dan would definitely be dissatisfied. However, if he didn't hand it over, Lu Yao would inevitably look down on him. Moreover, it was Elder Ling Dan's idea to enter the heaven-reaching tower with Lu Yao. He hoped that he could become partners with her. This way, he could obtain the help of the Imperial Advisor's residence. The failure of the Crown Prince did not mean that he would fail. I think Elder Ling Dan will understand, right? Thinking of this, Beidang Wentian's expression softened slightly. He snorted arrogantly and said, "Humph. The Shenwu Academy is controlled by the Beidang family. Why would Elder Ling Dan punish Palace Master Ben Shao? Since junior sister Lu wants it, I'll give it to you." Swoosh! Immediately, Beidang Wentian casually threw the green ball of light out. Patter! When Lu Yao saw this, there was a hint of joy in her beautiful eyes. She raised her slender arm and took in her hand. After a quick glance, she gently nodded. Her expression suddenly became extremely cold as she said indifferently, "Many thanks to young palace master." Ha ha ha, idiot! Idiot! Stupid! Wang Kai could not help but laugh loudly. He pointed at Beidang Wentian and scolded him repeatedly. He laughed so hard that his arm trembled. He really did not expect that Beidang Wentian would be willing to hand over the artifact spirit of the heaven-reaching tower. When Beidang Wentian heard this, his face darkened. As the young palace master of the Shenwu Academy, when had he ever been humiliated like this? He was so angry that he gritted his teeth and glared at Wang Kai with red eyes. He sneered and said, "Today is the day you die. The day I die? Haha. Unfortunately, Ben Shao has been cultivating for hundreds of thousands of years. Countless people have said the same thing to Ben Shao, but none of them have succeeded. Do you know why? Because those people are just like you, a complete idiot." Wang Kai put his hands on his waist and laughed until his face turned red. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. I hope you can still brag like this when you go to hell. Swoosh! Beidang Wentian's body flashed, and he stepped into the air. He waved his hands and gathered battle chi. He laughed softly and said, "Miss Lu, please step aside." Why should she step aside? Ben Shao will let you understand today that there is always someone better than you. Wang Kai sneered disdainfully and stepped into the air. He waved his hand and battle chi covered his entire body. This scene caused Lu Yao to frown. She lowered her raised arm and stepped back a few steps. Her beautiful eyes were filled with curiosity as she looked at Wang Kai. The moment he released his battle chi, she could see Wang Kai's martial realm. Ninth grade martial general. How did he improve so quickly? Lu Yao was secretly surprised. Her beautiful eyes were full of splendor. Seeing this, Beitang Wentian's gaze turned cold, and he snorted with disdain. You are only relying on martial skills to step into the air. You are not on the same level as Palace Master Ben Shao. Although he is in Tong Tian Tower, and his martial realm is suppressed to 9th grade martial general, he is still not someone you can provoke. Anyone can brag, but your bragging is obviously very weak. It is not that Ben Shao is boasting, but even if a martial king were to enter Tong Tian Tower, as long as their realm is suppressed to 9th grade martial general, Ben Shao would be able to defeat them easily. Just a puff of air is enough to defeat you. Wang Kai's expression was indifferent. With his hands behind his back and his feet in the air, he had the demeanor of an expert. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Chapter 64. When you fight with Beitang Wentian, you must pay attention to the Master Level Dark North Seal. It contains the death chi of the underworld and is not inferior to the Netherworld Sword. A voice entered his ears, causing Wang Kai to be stunned. His heart could not help but violently jump. He was not surprised that the Beitang family could control the death chi of the underworld. After all, the entire family came from the underworld region. What was truly surprising was Lu Yao's martial Dao realm. Only a martial ancestor realm expert could use the secret telepathy technique. This little girl is really powerful. She is only a few years older than me and has reached the martial ancestor realm. It seems that it is temporarily impossible to tie her up and bring her to the bridal chamber. AI, Ben Shao's bragging is still too little. Wang Kai shook his head and secretly sighed. If Lu Yao knew that he was still thinking about such things, she would probably be furious and beat him up, right? Wang Kai, if you are willing to become the servant of Palace Master Ben Shao, I can spare your life today. Beitang Wentian laughed sinisterly. He already had another plan in his mind. The power of the Marshal's residence and the Imperial Tutor's residence belonged to 2 extremes. One was a scholar, and the other was a martial artist. If he could obtain the support of both sides at the same time, the Shenwu Academy would definitely succeed. Wang Kai's face was filled with disdain when he heard this. He raised his arm and waved it in the air. He said impatiently, "Annoying fly, get lost as far as you can. Ben Shao is such an outstanding person. He would not want to talk to a beast." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and bragging points for 1 point. It seems that you do not know how terrifying a martial ancestor realm expert is. Beitang Wentian's face darkened. His body suddenly flashed, and he instantly appeared in front of Wang Kai. He turned his hand and chopped down with his palm. Golden feather, 3 changes. Swoosh. However, before Wang Kai could counterattack, a golden light penetrated the hall. In an instant, it turned into a long spear burning with golden flames and pierced towards Beitang Wentian's side. "Who are you?" Beitang Wentian's expression abruptly changed as he hastily retreated. He was extremely furious in his heart. If he hadn't retreated just now, even if he could have taken Wang Kai's life, he would have definitely been pierced by the long spear. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and put his hands behind his back. He said unhappily, "Little Rock King, why did you stop Ben Shao when he wanted to teach that idiot a lesson?" Buzz. The long spear that was burning with golden flames transformed into 2 golden wings, and the Kuan Peng demon body also transformed into the appearance of the Little Rock King. He laughed as his battle intent surged. "Sorry, since the heaven-reaching pagoda can suppress the martial arts realm, I can use it to test the abilities of a martial arts grandmaster. Since that's the case, I'll let you have it. TSK, a rock can kill a fly. Both are considered flying animals. Ben Shao can't wait to see who's stronger. Wang Kai smiled calmly. Little Rock King's face stiffened when he heard this. He then glared angrily at Wang Kai and said through gritted teeth, Wang Kai, don't think that you could defeat me just because you've defeated my illusory form. Oh, why don't the two of you join forces and fight Ben Shao together? That fly can be squashed to death, but as for you, it just so happens that this young master is lacking him out. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled carelessly. Bastard. Palace Master Ben Shao is a martial ancestor realm expert. Why would he join forces with a bird? You two general realm trash should be the ones joining forces. Beitang Wentian rebuked angrily. You're courting death. Little Rock King's expression was extremely cold. If he were to fight Wang Kai, it would be extremely difficult for him to defeat him. After all, the illusory form had the same thoughts and martial arts realm as him. It even had all the means to fight against enemies. Since Wang Kai could defeat his illusory form, it meant that he was no match for Wang Kai. However, that did not mean that he could not defeat Beidang Wentian. The little Peng King turned into a beam of golden light and pierced through the air. His two golden wings suddenly turned into a flaming palm and grabbed Beitang Wentian. Then, he turned into a beam of golden light and shot out of the main hall. Wang Kai, I'll fight you after I defeat Beidang Wentian. Wang Kai shrugged casually. He placed his hands behind his back and scanned the empty main hall. Relying on the bloodline contract, he could clearly sense Cat Lord's presence. He immediately smiled playfully and said, Big stupid cat, can you come out and explain yourself? Hee, Beidang Wentian can't die yet. Otherwise, Cat Lord will be in danger. Whoosh! Cat Lord's figure appeared out of thin air in the main hall. He stroked his long whiskers, and his nose twitched slightly. His eyes were fixed on Lu Yao. He stretched out his paw and waved it. He smiled and said, Little girl, return the Tong Tian Tower's weapon spirit to Cat Lord. You are the cat demon emperor that Master mentioned, right? Lu Yao laughed softly. Her beautiful face was full of curiosity. She did not take out the Tong Tian Tower's weapon spirit. Instead, she took a few steps back. Cat Demon Emperor? Wang Kai's figure slowly floated down and came to Lu Yao's side. He looked quite surprised. He squinted his eyes and said with a smile, Big stupid cat, I didn't expect you to have such a title. Cat Demon Emperor, TSK. As the owner of your bloodline, Ben Shao should be the divine martial emperor. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. Bloodline contract. When Lu Yao heard this, her beautiful eyes flashed with a mischievous light. Suddenly, she covered her face and smiled softly. My husband, you have to protect me well. Wang Kai suddenly felt them all over. He felt a sense of ecstasy from the beginning to the end. He turned his head and looked at her in disbelief. He had never thought that this little girl could change her mind so quickly. Who is your master? Cat Lord's pupils shrank. He stroked his whiskers and stared coldly at her. Ahem, she's my fiancée, big stupid cat. The aura of the Heaven Tower's artifact spirit is extremely weak, so it's useless for you to take it back. Just give it to her. Wang Kai waved his hand and laughed dryly. Extremely weak? Impossible. Cat Lord suddenly jumped up, and his fur stood on end. It was as if he had heard something terrible. Whoosh! Lu Yao turned her hand and took out the Tong Tian Tower's weapon spirit. She said softly, Senior Cat, take a look and you will know. The weapon spirit's power has been almost completely devoured. I hope that Senior can give the remaining power to this Junior. How is this possible? Cat Lord's figure quickly came forward. His eyes were wide and bloodshot as he stared at the green ball of light. It seems that Senior has successfully swallowed the Black Cat Monarch. Since that is the case, you should be able to see that the power inside was not devoured by us. Lu Yao laughed softly and put away the weapon spirit. She took a step back and retreated behind Wang Kai. Seeing this, Wang Kai's confidence suddenly swelled. and a masculine aura suddenly appeared. He waved his arm and said heroically, "Lady fiancée, you can rest assured. With your husband here, even if the gods come in person, they can't hurt you in the slightest." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 1,000 experience points and 1 bragging point. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.